Dylan from Haas Fabrication down in Georgia. I know that much. I've driven past your place
Yep,
on the way to Florida, but where are you at, Dylan?
right outside of Savannah, Georgia.
Right outside of Savannah, Georgia. So it's always summer, never winter, or what?
I mean, it gets cold there. It gets cold, real cold, probably like 30 degrees.
It's
Probably about two
fall.
week. Yeah, yeah. 2 weeks out of the year or so.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Good
I
deal.
haven't had I haven't had heat in my house for about 4 years now.
Yes. What a thing. But you have a huge air conditioning bill.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep,
that's like
yep,
people die for lack of air conditioning there.
yep.
So yeah, that's a trade off you get with that beautiful fall and spring weather, and then
Yeah,
terrible summer weather. So
yeah. I tell people it's kind of like the opposite from because I'm from New York originally,
okay, great.
and I kind of tell people it's like the opposite. Like in the summertime down here, you try not to do anything, and you
Ah,
just absorb absorb air conditioning, and then it's the opposite for like up north. You want to do everything in the summer and nothing in the winter,
right.
but then it's the
Yeah,
opposite here. So
yeah.
we have probably 7 months out of the year where it's beautiful, gorgeous weather,
Hmm.
and then hell.
On Earth all
Yeah,
day. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm a winter guy. I'll take the freezing cold any day of the week. I don't love it. It's not like I'm like, oh, I can't wait to be outside in it. But
right.
I will always prefer cold to heat. Always.
Yeah,
Working outside in like North Carolina and other places that are just like totally just a heat swamp, just disgusting, awful time. Like I'm like, nope, I don't like this. And so,
that is, that
um,
is my life.
yeah, I'm sorry. Well, if you ever want to come back up north, we'd be happy to have you. There's plenty of work, and winters are hard, but the pay's good. So, yeah,
Yeah,
gee whiz. Well, anyway, let's get into it, man. This is the Mountain and Valley podcast, and we talk about life in the trades, how we got here, how we got into the trades, how we grew up, what we do now, lessons that we learned along the way, the good stuff, the bad stuff. There's no ads, there's no selling. We're not trying to get you to buy anything here. We just want you to understand that this is the life that a lot of us live, and it's fun, it's terrible, it's great, it's scary, and for me, and I'm not going to put words into anybody's mouth, it's the only way. It's the only way
yeah.
we'd like to do it, or I'd like to do it, I should say. And so, for Dylan and for anybody else that's on, or for anybody that's listening, all three of you, all three of my major fans that always like my posts. I'm happy that you're here, but we just want to get into the nitty gritty of it. So, Dylan, I'm going to stop calling Dylan. I'm just going to call you by whatever I want now.
That's fun.
So, where you said you grew up in New York, so what was it like growing up for you? What was New York like? Were you in New York City? Were you in like Poughkeepsie? Like, what was going on for you
So I grew up
growing up in New York
in
City?
pretty much smack in the middle of Long Island, New York. Probably more eastern. Um,
Love it.
yeah.
Well, I grew
So
up in New Jersey, so
okay.
20 minutes from
Yeah.
New York. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking. Long Island is like a curse word, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it's cool. They
Yeah.
got nice beaches.
They do. Yeah. Um, Grew up there. I mean, it was good. I have really great parents, and I had a pretty solid childhood. Um,
Hmm.
I was kind of a turd in high school, so probably like most of us. Um, my high school offered a program called BOCES, which I think that's more of like a Northeast kind of thing. BOCES, and
Hmm.
it's basically the high school. If you don't plan on going to college, the high school will pay to send you to some kind of trade school, and
Okay.
they allowed you to. They were all. I mean, they were all. It wasn't even just trades. It was like I guess. Well, I guess it is a trade. Like cosmetology. They had
Oh
like
yeah.
personal training, HVAC, plumbing, automotive, obviously, small engine repair, welding, and some other stuff. But yeah, I knew nothing about welding. I liked cars. I liked
Ah,
cars.
there it is. That
So
gateway drug.
yeah, exactly. So I signed up for automotive, and they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, it's automotive's full. So what else do you want to do?" So I was like, "Well, welding sounds cool. Like you get to melt stuff with fire, and
There you go.
yeah, like every boy's dream is to light stuff on fire." So um,
Heck yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, destruction.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so they ended up getting me set up in the welding course, and I started there the beginning of junior year. So basically, what my day consisted of was I woke up in the morning, got to school, and then hopped on another bus that then took me and whoever else to a trade school. I was there, I think, till about like 12 o'clock. Came back to the high school, went to lunch, went to gym, and went home. So it pretty much covered all of my credits. It covered my social studies, my science, my English, my
Oh, right
math. It
on.
covered, yeah, it was great. I mean, it was perfect for me
Yeah.
because I was horrible in school.
Right on. Well, let's back
But
up for a second. Let's back up for just 1 second because we're like jumping into like, and there I was at trade school. Like,
yeah,
did you? And you said you didn't know anything about welding, but you like
no.
cars. Like, were your parents around? Were they like, yeah, that's a cool idea? Did you just like watching uh, chopper builders on TV, or like how did you even hear about the trades? Because for a lot of people, no one's even supposed to look at the trades. Like people shield their eyes from the garbage man driving by, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so how did you even think like the like automotive that Votech? Like what got you to that point? Um,
So I am my father's son, but I'm also the complete opposite of him. He he he's incredible. I love my dad. He owned his own pest control business for I don't even know how long, many years, many years. It was just him and my mom running solo. So he was blue collar, um, super into home improvement, super into like finished trim molding and finished carpentry and stuff like that. He's big into that. He has never turned a wrench on a car, never welded, never did any of that. So really, honestly, the mechanical bug that bit me, I have no idea. I mean,
hmm,
even when I was like a little kid, like anytime I would find like an old radio, I would take it apart and pull it apart and see what was up with it and try to put it back together. And I mean, it was constant. I was always pulling stuff apart and trying to put it back together. And then I started to all my friends in high school and my freshman and sophomore year. I mean, they were kind of into cars and their parents were into cars, so I kind of always hung out with them, and I kind of got the bug with that through friends and their family. Um, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much where I got the bug from, or where I think I got the bug
hmm.
from.
Okay, cool. Did your mom and dad were they stoked for you? Were they super excited that you're, or were they like, hey man, college is a thing?
No, they are. Uh, they're actually not like that. I mean, my sis. I have an older sister. She went to college. I don't even remember if she finished college or not, but yeah.
Yeah, and I
So
think that's
they
like a
were,
50% don't finish or
yeah,
something like that, some
exactly,
crazy
yeah.
number.
They being that my father was blue collar, he kind of understands like, hey, there's way better options for you
Hmm.
um, outside of college, and especially like he knew the type of person who I was, and I was kind of a turd in high school
Hmm.
too. So like bad grades, I like so. And
Yeah.
then he was like, all right, you're not going to college. So they were like,
We're not wasting money on you.
yeah. Savings account's gone somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
They,
You like that new refrigerator, kid? Because that's what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They made a joke, probably about when I was 17, 18. And they were like, you want to know where your college fund is? And they pointed outside and it was a pool.
Yeah. Well,
I was
that's
like,
probably
right
a
on.
better use of your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
That's what I said.
it,
I was
it
like, oh, I
really,
knew.
yeah, yeah. I'm not going to dig on college because I actually went to college for a few years.
Yeah,
And didn't finish, but I did go. And yeah, like it has its place. I mean,
it does.
if you know what you need to do and you know where you want to go, and it requires those sort of skills that you learn in school or certifications that you learn in school, then that's the fastest way to get them. But
Yeah,
today, in today's modern world, there's so many options for
yeah,
people. Even if you like, there are I don't want to say alternative schools because when I say that, I think of like, the kids who got kicked out of school and they went to alternative schools. But there are alternatives to school where you
right.
can practice what you want to be doing and earn your degree, like actually earn it by working in the thing that you want to do. There's all kinds of different options. There's many places that will, if you go to school and work, they'll reimburse you over time or after serving some time. Like there you can get really creative
Yeah,
today because there's such a need, not just for trades, but for
yeah,
everything. I was just
yeah.
listening
For a lot
to,
of jobs.
yeah, even like veterinarians. There's
Yeah,
a lack of veterinarians in America, and they're like
yeah,
recruiting from other countries to get
right.
them here. And the vets are paying people to go to vet school.
Yeah,
It like, okay, cool. So if
yeah,
you want to do anything, like there are ways to get it done. So,
yeah.
but anyway, yeah. So now here you are at Votech. You kind of get railroaded into welding.
Yep.
No, I mean, class was full. Class was full. Everybody wants to fix cars, and nobody wants to weld overhead.
Nope.
So there you are. So how did you do with the welding class? Did you actually like it, or was it like just how was that?
Yeah. So, my junior year, I how do I word this? The school was a pretty well equipped school. Like
Mm-hmm.
they well funded, and it's New York, high taxes, so
Sure.
very well funded. The teacher, he was great, but it was more, the class itself was more of a, here's all this equipment, go figure it out. There was not a whole lot of like, everybody gather around this table and watch me run a 7018. It was
Mm.
like, it was probably 15, 20 minutes in the morning of chalkboard writing of, hey, this is what we're kind of teaching today, and this is what you're looking at. Um, and I enjoyed it. I mean, straight off the bat, I was like, man, this is fun. Like, I enjoy doing it. The teacher, he was great. He came from the trades, so I think he kind of fell a little ass backwards into the job.
Mm.
So
Mm.
he probably was more of a welder first than a teacher,
Good.
which is, yeah. I mean, it's good and bad because
True.
teaching was hard.
Mm.
But then if him and I got like one-on-one time, if I had questions, he would step in the booth with me and he'd show me what was going on.
Right.
And he was great. He was great. He kind of took a liking to me because they were really, I mean, to backstep a little bit, BOCES has a pretty bad reputation of
Mm.
all the turd kids getting away from school but still being able to graduate high school. So a lot of these kids come into these courses thinking that they can just kick back and relax and just sit there and twiddle their thumbs and run a couple beads, and then in 2 years they're graduated and they're on doing whatever crappy job they're doing.
Whatever else
Uh,
they wanted to do.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was really only like maybe like 2 or 3 of us who were actually like genuinely interested in the whole aspect of welding, and I was one of them. So he kind of he kind of taught me a lot of stuff. He was teaching me as much as he could. Um, really didn't. Honestly, I feel like I didn't learn a whole lot
Okay.
there. Like you learn basics,
Right.
but
Okay.
I just I don't remember a lot of it.
Okay.
So he taught me as much as he could. I learned how to like TIG weld and just it's all like you only have like a couple hours a day to work on something, so you really can't dial a whole lot in.
Right.
He the my senior year was kind of the same thing, but you're a little bit more on your own. I remember bringing in. My first vehicle was a Land Rover, an old Land Rover Discovery,
Oh, you are a
and
glutton for punishment, aren't you?
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Oh man.
yeah,
I think we're all in that same boat. I just had a talk with somebody, and it was like, dude, you love bad cars. And he's like, yeah, yeah, I do.
yeah,
I like
yeah,
terrible cars that don't work good.
yep,
Yep, me
yeah,
too. Me too. I love Jeeps. They're the
yeah.
worst. I love them. I don't
I
care.
got one of those too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
they're
course, of
junk.
course. You could get a Toyota. No, we're gonna get
No,
this thing that
stupid.
barely runs all the time.
Why would I want?
So
Why would I want it to be reliable?
yeah, especially when I'm 18 and I have no money. You know,
Yeah,
I can
right.
fix anything. So anyway, you get this. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just think it's hilarious that
No, no, you're
so
good.
many of us in the trades have these like very strange affinities for things that are
Yeah,
objectively terrible but awesome.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
it's just like
yeah,
the thing I'm noticing. Okay, continue. Sorry.
yeah.
So you get this Land
You're
Rover
good.
and it needs to
Yeah.
be
So
fixed.
yeah. So bought this Land Rover and I was fixing it in my driveway kind of deal, and they allowed you to the trade school allowed you to drive your vehicle to the school and work on it uh, based off like a one-on-one basis. So like you couldn't just aimlessly drive there. So I would always have to get a pass every day. But I started building. I built like a winch bumper and a roof rack for it and stuff like that. So
Of
that's when I really
course.
started to enjoy it.
Hmm.
He forced me to go to Skills USA,
Okay.
and I did not want to. I don't know if you're familiar with Skills USA.
Well, what is Skills USA? Let's talk about that for a
So,
second.
well, I'm probably not the expert. I'm
That's okay,
definitely
but
not the
you did
expert.
it. So yeah,
Yeah,
what
so
was
it
it
is.
to
It's
you at that time?
at the time it was basically younger people slash high school students who were in a trade school or who going to their wherever their welding school or trade school, whatever the case is, go and compete against each other, and then you go. I think it goes from like a regional, then to state, and then to nation, and then worldwide.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
you basically compete against other students and other welders. I didn't make it past regionals.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah, did not make it past.
yeah.
Do not pass go.
Do not pass go.
Um,
Yeah.
so went there. He forced me there. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot because it's a lot of like drinking from a fire hose.
Mm.
So you're kind of like, man, I've never, at the time, I had never TIG welded aluminum upside down overhead. Never done it, but it was part of the
Right.
test. So I was like,
That was part of the test.
all right, let's give it a
Let's
shot.
go, boys.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, let's give it a shot. So,
Cool.
but yeah, I mean, last year, and then during the summer between junior and senior year and senior year summer break, I worked for a handrail company, like
Mm.
it was a blacksmith shop, and they primarily did handrails. So knocked out a crap load of handrails all summer.
They probably
Um,
loved you.
yeah,
Yeah.
experienced my first piece of metal in my eye, so I had to go to the
Mm.
doctor and get that yanked out, and that was
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
And that was fun. That was good. That was a lot of good, like on the job experience, kind of seeing what a fab shop does and see how they operate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
That experience working. Oh, sorry, I just
no,
had a quick
you're
question
good.
about that experience working. So, did the experience working at the rail shop did that kind of continue to encourage your interest in the trade, or were you like, "Ugh, I don't know if this is for me. I just got to finish this out. Like, what? How did that time
No,
do for
no.
you?
Honestly, at I don't think at any point in when I first started welding did I ever be like, I don't think this is for me. I
Oh,
always
okay.
was like, this is awesome. Like this is great because I love building stuff with my hands. Like I'm always just a hands-on person. So
Right.
the only time I kind of took a break from the trade / welding is when I joined the military.
Okay.
So that was
get
pretty
into
much
that in a bit.
yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the only like somewhat break that I took.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so went there senior year, pretty much the same thing. Learned a lot. Got out and I went to work for a aluminum boat fabricator.
Okay.
So doing nothing but push pull gun.
Nice.
Yeah. That's why I have a push pull gun instead of a spool
baby.
gun.
Right on.
Yeah. So
they're the great tool. Great tool.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I love it. So I did a ton of push pull welds. It was all commercial vessel. It was a horrible shop environment. It was absolutely terrible. I was getting paid cash, so everything was under the table.
Nice.
It was me, a guy who was probably about 100 years old, and two just guys like me who really don't know what's going on, don't know anything, and the old man was kind of just guiding us and holding our and kind of pointing and telling us what to do. But I mean, we would build $500,000 boats out of like a Miller 350P with a 50-foot push-pull whip on it and a bandsaw. It was the worst thing at the end of the day having to roll that up. It was like 50 and 75 feet.
Dang.
Yeah.
Seriously, like that's we in one shop that I worked in, we had a ton of Miller 350Ps, great machine.
Yeah.
But we used to cut all the whips, not cut, but get the shortest whip you could because we just hung them on the wall and ran them to the table right in front of us. And I just, man, it was, they were great, but 50, 75 foot whips.
Yeah. So we can wheel because all the boats sit on jack stands.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have like a crane or a forklift or like an apparatus to bring
that?
The welder. Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. So we didn't really have anything to put it up in the boat, put the welder up in the boat to be able to do whatever we had to do. So we would just wheel the welder to like the transom and then just heave ho all the lead over the top.
Oh man. Oh, was this inside or outside? I have to ask.
It was both. So it was like in like an old Quonset hut that used to manufacture fiberglass boats. So the whole floor was fiberglass. So if you laid on your back without a creeper or cardboard, you got fiberglass in your back for like 3 days.
I love
it. Yeah, it was amazing. It was great. Yeah. It was fun.
Like I'm gonna be straight up with you. Those kind of shops teach you a lesson.
Yeah,
100%. They
really
teach you
do
a lesson if you're willing to learn.
Mean, I would have never have thought that you can make the products we made with like the limited tools that we had out of aluminum. That's an incredible
awesome
lesson. I mean, we would use just like a regular circular saw and a regular wood miter saw, and I mean, we were making $500,000, $750,000 boats.
Yep.
Out of probably maybe $15,000 worth of tools.
Yep. Every single day.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Pumping them out. Well, I guess I shouldn't say pumping them out. We probably made.
You can't with that kind of.
Yeah.
With that kind of product, it's not a speed race.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You're not making. You're not making 3D printed wallets or something like that.
Right, exactly.
There's a lot that goes into a boat like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so we learned, I learned just a lot of like, I don't want to say ghetto ways to do things, but ways to do things outside of the box.
Right.
So they got done, they were accomplished, and we did them. Not necessarily safe all the time, but yeah, I mean, I was there for probably about a year.
Okay.
And then they started to not pay me.
Even more.
So it would be like, oh, well, we don't have enough money for the week, so we'll pay you next week. I'm like, okay, this is the sign.
Yeah. And how old were you at that time?
I was 18.
18?
Yeah, I was 18.
Well, I mean, somebody must have taught you something. Because I see 40-year-old guys working for 2 or 3 weeks with not getting paid.
Yeah.
And you were there was something in you, even at that age,
Yeah.
that said, "This is there's something."
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't even know it, but you just knew.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Instant red flag. Yep.
Yeah.
Instant red flag. Yeah. I remember telling my parents, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't get paid this week and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, what?
Hmm.
They were like, you need to go get paid. I was like, okay. And I don't know any better. So I'm talking
Right.
to this manager who's triple my age. I'm like, hey, so I need the whatever, however much money I made. Yeah, like
$4. I need my
$350. Yeah, yeah, I need $350 for the week that you told
$4.
me.
Yeah. Yep. I just gave you like a third of my life. It's up to this point. Can I
Right.
please have $40?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'm making $14 an
$10.
hour.
Yeah, I'm making $14 an hour, and I nearly died 3 times this week.
Right, right,
Can
exactly.
you please help me? Not,
yeah, please. Can you just
please.
give me my money?
Right.
So,
Real quick, with that, as you were talking, like you got to talk to your mom and dad about that. So,
right.
do you consider your mom and dad kind of how do you think about your mom and dad in terms of like entrepreneurship or business ownership? Like, did they set like a standard for you? Like, even in that really young age, like you knew to talk to your mom and dad. You must have had a decent enough relationship with them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. We have
look at that
I
and
mean,
go, huh?
yeah, definitely. We have and had a pretty good relationship. I mean, my dad is he's like a horse. He would just keep working until he dies.
Sounds like a great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. I mean, like they just recently moved down here about a year ago, and he can't stop, and I have to force him to stop because like the weather down here is like, dude,
You'll
you need
die.
to learn that. Yeah, you will die. You will literally die if you will literally die, and he's learning that, but he's
it takes time.
yeah, it
I
does.
remember
Yeah,
the first time I went to North Carolina to work. Like the first day, I wasn't work. I just went down and was hanging out with my buddy, and I'm like, dude, it's 10:30. Why are those guys
right,
stopping for lunch?
right,
And they would take like an hour and a half. I mean, maybe whatever. They would take like an
right,
hour and a half lunch, and I'm like, dude, what are they doing?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
by the end of the first week, I'm like, I needed to go to the hospital. Oh, yeah, that's why you take an hour lunch.
yep.
Because if you don't, you could go to the
You
hospital.
you can die.
You get a free trip to the hospital because you're extremely dehydrated and you have heat stroke. Yay!
Yeah. Yeah, it's no joke down here. It really is. It's no joke down here.
No. And us Northerners, we kind of make fun of it because
Yeah.
we don't know any better. But the
Right.
truth is, like, there's a reason for the pace. And
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. So
There definitely is. But yeah,
some
I
people
guess not
take
to get-
advantage of it. But
yeah. Oh, more than some. So
yeah. So did you quit right after you didn't get paid, or did you stick it out for another 3 months?
No. I stuck it out for a few more weeks. I started applying to random jobs. I was at the time looking at jobs on Craigslist.
I was like, place.
Yeah. R.I.P. Craigslist. But yeah, I mean, I was looking at jobs there, and I found there was a company called Alternative Parts Incorporated, and they were a OEM, or I guess it would be OEM aftermarket manufacturer for Amada equipment. Amada, like press brakes, shears, punch
lasers
presses.
Now, right?
Primarily lasers now. Yeah.
Great machines.
So I applied there because they needed just shop help. So went there. I applied. Went there in person. Applied.
Was that a local company to you in New York? Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
That's cool too.
I mean, it was
like a
10-minute drive from my house.
Oh, man,
super.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
What
super,
a cool company
super
to have
close.
so close.
Yeah, super close. So they interviewed me. They liked me. They hired me.
They knew that you had low standards. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I was like, listen, I haven't gotten paid in 3 weeks, so anything's better. So, yeah.
You could wait another 2 and you could get paid by us.
Right, exactly.
What's 2 more?
Right. So they went and started there, and I was just they purchase used, or I don't know if they do it anymore. But they used to purchase used Amada equipment from auctions and shops shutting down and stuff like that. They would bring them in, refurb them a little bit, paint them, and then resell them. So I was kind of the shop guy who just assisted in refurbs and painting, basically just like the shop bitch.
Yeah.
And learned a ton there because they were a CNC machine shop. I learned a lot of electrical stuff, a lot of diag stuff. I was there for about 6 months, and I asked if I could become a mobile technician, and they were a little on the fence with it, just because I was so young.
Right. They don't want you going on the road and not coming back.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Getting lost in Las Vegas.
Exactly. Yeah. So they started to have me shadow one of the senior guys. So one of the first jobs I went out was we went to go do a punch press install in Colorado. So him and I went out and we flew out there. The machine was already there. They already rigged it and wired it up, and we were just kind of setting up all like the transfer tables and everything like that. I don't even remember terminology too much about them, but so basically we went out there, and I was still getting paid hourly, which was like $15 an hour. And I asked my boss, I was like, hey, since Steve, the guy I'm shadowing, is salary and I'm hourly, how do you want to work the clock? And he was like, from the second you get out of your hotel bed and put your boots on, you start your clock. From when you take your boots off, you stop your clock. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, yeah. And I was like, that's pretty sweet. I was like, because that's going to be great. And Steve was a worker too. He worked hard. So him and I were like, hey, day one, we're going to get there. We're going to get set up, and we're probably going to work all night. And I was like, cool. All about
Let's go.
So, yeah. So we had, I think, 8 days to set it up, and we finished it in 4.
Nice.
And it was literally like 20-hour shifts. Like we crushed it. We didn't even take lunch breaks. The whole shop was air conditioned. It was this massive, massive shop. And yeah, it was great. I was like, cool, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then I remember like getting like a $2,500 paycheck the next week. And I was like, this is great. This is amazing. I want to do more of this. So I started asking for more work. I started asking for more and more and more. So I ended up traveling. I would go to Boston and Pennsylvania and Connecticut and start working on all this stuff, and doing like simple stuff like shear blade flips.
Right. Companies would call you guys in to flip blades and stuff like that.
Correct. Yeah.
Really? They don't have the capacity in their own business to do stuff like that, or
I guess not, because I realistically. I mean, it was, we would just it would be 2 guys on either end. Mm-hmm. We would take pretty much all the bolts out, take that center bolt out, and we would have 2x4s on our shoulder. It was a miserable time, but yeah.
Good thing you're 19.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they, I mean, doing simple stuff like that, simple electrical diag, like laser curtain issues and stuff like that. So I learned a lot of stuff like that. There were Long Island. I don't know what it's like anymore, but at the time, there's a lot of manufacturing on Long Island. A lot of manufacturing. So there were a ton of local places that I would just go to go fix their press brake. Hey, press brake's down. Light curtain's throwing an alarm. Okay, cool. I'll come out and look at it and stuff like that and do whatever I had to do. And if it was anything outside of my scope, they would just have another guy come. And so I did that for about a year. One day I got into a fight with my manager because I wanted to do more and he wanted to keep me in the shop. So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, I think this is a dead end for me. So where did I go from there? I applied to a company called Firematic. And Firematic,
guess what they do, but
yeah. So they build. Well, Firematic's a fairly large company throughout the Northeast, but I was working in something called the Brat Shop, which is the small scale brush trucks. So basically, Ram 5500, Ford 550s to like smaller international
Like
type chassis
medium
trucks.
duty,
Yeah, exactly. Medium duty
duties
type
type.
trucks, and
Yeah,
we would outfit them. We would
my
make
favorite.
scene trucks, mid pump trucks, brush
Cool.
trucks. Um, so that's
So when you say
hindsight.
make them, sorry, but like,
Yeah, go ahead.
were you like assembling? Were you fabricating? Were you like integrating already existing equipment into trucks? Like, what was the making like there?
Little bit of all of that.
Oh,
So we would basically just get like an F550 cab and chassis would show up.
hmm,
It typically most of them would get a suspension lift and super singles.
yes.
Um, yeah, yeah. So Firematic at the time made their own wheels, and they would use
Wow.
I think it was IROC Super Swampers.
What? I
Yeah,
want one of these trucks right now.
yeah. They were cool. They were super
They
cool.
put welders on them, or
Yeah,
can I get a
yeah.
crane? Does that
So
sound sick?
they actually make their own tires now, which I'm trying to. I'm sure. Yeah,
What?
I'm sure. Yeah,
Who
or I'm
makes
sure.
their own tires?
Yeah, I'm sure somebody makes them for them,
But they're
obviously. But
designed at least
yeah,
by
they
them
are.
for
Yeah,
them.
they're called Founders by Firematic, and I'm actually trying to get I'm actually trying to get a set of wheels and
This is
tires for my
amazing.
5500.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh man, it sounds awesome. Actually, so
yeah,
you
it was a
like,
really cool shop, very well equipped.
yeah.
We did not have any we didn't have a plasma table, water jet, laser.
Yeah.
We had none of that. Everything we made was on a shear and press brake or
Nice.
bandsaw, whatever the case was.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I mean, it was very, very well equipped. So what I've always been told is the company really just builds brush trucks to add kind of a notch in their belt, but they're not so much worried about making profit
Oh,
in that
okay.
division
Yeah, that makes
because
sense.
they have other avenues.
Mm-hmm.
So we were very well funded. I mean, we had a lot of equipment. I mean, even equipment that I've never seen in any other shop. We had like a tube polisher that had like 2-inch by probably like 72-inch Scotch-Brite belts that would oppose each other.
Okay.
And while they were spinning, they would rotate like that, and you would just slide the aluminum tube in, and it would polish it.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
I've looked for one of those machines, and the only time that I've ever found the machine, it was like $15,000, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You could use it if you do need to do that. I worked in a
Right.
shop that needed, there's ways to get it done, but
Right.
just use a wood lathe. Put your tube in a wood lathe and grab your
Yeah.
Scotch Brite.
Exactly.
Works great. For
Yeah, I mean,
aluminum anyway.
right. Yeah, these were super nice because you could bend the tubing because
Oh, nice.
bend the
Yeah.
tubing and just push it through with the
Right.
bend and everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just all said and done. Once you're done fabbing up everything on a single piece of tube, you can just run it through the polisher and
That
it
is
would
an
do it.
awesome piece of equipment right there.
Yeah. So
yeah.
90% of that work was all aluminum welding, all TIG welding. I think we had a 30A, but I never saw it used.
So did you? Because previously you said you kind of learned how in vote or in tech school. So did you have to learn on the job, or did you learn previous to that? Like
Yes and no. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I have done it before. I had done it before in school, and I did it a little bit at the boat shop as well, and at the at API at Alternative Parts. They had a Miller Econo TIG.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, whopping 160 amp machine.
Yep. Here, have some 1/4 inch.
Some yeah, exactly.
Aluminum. Nope, I can't.
Yeah, can't do that. So yeah, I went there for the job interview, and they had me run a bead on some tube and some flat plate. I think it was a fillet weld, and it was on a Dynasty 700. And I was like,
yeah, baby.
Yeah, like, listen, I have no idea how to use this machine. So I was like, can you guys like help me as far as just settings and stuff like that? And they're like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I was like, I really haven't done a whole lot of TIG aluminum, and so I ran a couple passes, and they were like, how much have you done? I was like, Not a lot, not a lot. And they were like, okay, cool. Like you have good bones, basically. Like you
Yeah.
have the idea of what
Yep.
needs to happen and kind of
Yep.
deal like that.
The
So I was
mechanics
able
are
to,
there.
right, exactly. Yeah. So I was really able to dial in aluminum TIG welding there. I
Yeah.
mean, I was there for about a year. Um,
You touched on something there. I don't even know if you noticed you said it, but
Probably not.
when you went into that interview, you were honest. You
Yeah.
said, "I don't know.
Yep.
Could you help me?"
Yeah.
And I think there's a huge lesson right there. That amount of teachability and curiosity, like that's what that is. You're like, I don't know, but I'll give it a go. That's being
Yeah.
curious. I don't
Yeah.
know. Can you help me? That's being teachable. Like
Yeah.
that is a building block for a successful, not just career. That's a building block for a successful life, right
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Um,
I agree.
so
Yeah. I mean, I think I was probably 19 or 20 at the time.
Jeez, and to do it when you were 19 and you had
Yeah.
the most testosterone and ego you'll ever have in your life,
Right.
like
Right.
that's again, I think you have building blocks in your from your family or from your
Yeah.
experiences that you might not even notice at the time. You
Right.
might not even
Yeah.
notice
I
them
definitely.
today, but
Yeah.
they're there, man. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. So I ended up getting hired, and I was probably the youngest guy there by
Mm,
probably about 30 years. All old, grumpy men.
nice.
Um, there was one young guy, and he was like the AutoCAD designer, and he just stayed in the office.
Yeah.
But he was probably in his 20s, and yeah, I was the youngest dude in the shop, and basically the same thing. Yeah, I kind of learned to kind of just listen rather than to assume that I know what to do, that I know what's going on, kind of like what you're saying. Um, and I always was super nice to these guys. I always asked questions. I always wanted to learn more. So most of them, well, I shouldn't even say most of them. All of them were very helpful in like developing my skill set. They always, when I first started there, they told me that I needed to have my own sets of tools. I had to have my own tools. Nobody's asking you to bring in your own angle grinders and stuff like that, but hand
Okay.
tools, cordless tools, drills, drill bits, stuff like that. So I had a weekend job working as a mechanic.
Oh, okay.
I was doing that in high school, and I did that. I would work every Saturday doing just oil changes at a local shop. So I had my own tools there. So I ended up leaving there and bringing all my tools to Firematic.
Hmm.
And yeah, so they kind of mechanic tools weren't really jiving with fabricator tools. So the old man, one of the old men there, his name was Dan, and he had like his toolbox was like a modified shopping cart, and he just had like everything just sitting on top of this shopping cart, and
Right on.
everything was hosed in red spray paint. And
Nice.
he's like, man, he's like, I know what my tools are. I know where my tools are. Don't ever touch my tools. He's like, if you need one, ask. He's like, if you ever need to borrow my tool, one of these tools, more than once, you should go buy it yourself.
There's a lesson
And
there.
yeah, and I took that to heart, and that's how like I live my life. If I need to borrow a tool more than once, I buy it. I just go out
Yeah.
and buy it.
It's
Uh,
I've tried to explain that to people. And they people rebel against
yeah,
that lesson.
it's insane. It blows my
It's like
mind.
what? And
Yeah.
especially if you are a tradesperson.
Right.
Like I could
Yeah.
see if you're my accountant and you're like, hey, can I borrow your power washer for my
Right.
deck? Like,
Right.
maybe you don't need, but actually, you do need a power washer because the deck
Yeah.
isn't going anywhere, bud.
Yeah. If
And
you own a home
you're gonna
or
want
rent,
one.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why not? And I
Right.
mean, yeah, that lesson, people hate that lesson. And they always
Yes.
go like, well, if you needed you've been on an airplane, should you buy an airplane? Well, actually, if my job necessitated that
Right.
I fly and commercial didn't work for me, yes,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think you should look into getting an airplane.
Right.
but
Yeah, I agree.
we're not there yet. Like,
No,
if my work was in Alaska, you know what I'd do? Buy an airplane.
buy a plane.
Like, but people just don't, and they're just like, hey, can I borrow that? Hey, can I borrow that? Hey, can I borrow that? Or they then wind up not doing the job
Yeah,
because they don't have
yeah,
the tool for it. That's crazy.
yeah. And it never makes sense to me. It never makes sense to me. I mean,
Like,
I probably go a little overboard on stuff. I mean, there's
how
times where
many
I'm
cranes
like,
do you have? I mean,
listen, we're not talking about that yet.
don't tell anybody how
Yeah, yeah,
many. Yeah, one,
yeah,
just one.
yeah, yeah, something like that.
So, yeah, but no, people. Yeah, that lesson is hard to teach. You have to just experience it and then just say,
Yep.
okay. And mechanics probably learn it the best. That's why they owe so
Yeah.
much money to Snap on. But
Yeah. Yep.
like, and there's a difference between buying tools because you think they're cool or because you want to keep up with the guys in the booth next to you. There's a
Right.
difference between that and like buying tools that you need, that you're going to use regularly or irregularly, and buying the best tool you can afford, not the best tool.
Yeah.
If you catch my
Yeah.
drift. Like, if I need a
Absolutely.
plasma cutter, there's no shame in going on Marketplace and buying a 10-year-old Hypertherm.
Yeah.
Just buy it. Like, it's going to work. There's going to be parts for it. It's no big deal. I just needed it one time. That's fine. But don't,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot in there.
Especially nowadays, like, I mean, that was, I mean, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say that like this was 20, 30 years ago, but I mean, even like Harbor Freight stuff now, Harbor Freight's pretty quality stuff for the most
Sure.
part.
Heck, if
So
you
if
need a
you're gonna,
sandblaster, go pick one up. You
yeah,
know?
go buy one. They're not that expensive.
Right.
Amazon. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
being able to have access to tools that aren't on a tool truck right now, and we're
Right.
talking like hand tools,
Mm-hmm.
but hand tools, anything. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
everything is so
Yeah.
readily available
Yeah.
and so common, and the technology has come so far, and like
Yeah.
being able to produce a quality tool for a quarter of the cost of what a Snap-on
Correct. Yeah.
tool
And
is. I mean, it's
even if you're looking at like if you're a welder and you do anything around plants or construction or
yeah,
structural steel, you may have had to borrow somebody's rotary hammer. Well, you
right,
can go on Amazon and you don't have to buy one off Harbor Freight if you don't want to, because sometimes a professional tool makes sense. A lot of times
yeah,
it does if you're a professional, but you can go on Amazon and search refurbished
yeah,
Bosch rotary hammer. And it might be a $900 hammer, but you can pick it up for $500, $600, $650.
yeah,
Um, and why not toss that in your truck? You could cruise the auctions, go online and cruise auctions. You could find local auctions. You'll always be able to find a deal. But I think people are just bad at being poor, or they were never struggling, or never like they just
yeah,
don't know you can do that stuff. Like,
right,
sometimes you got to buy a tool, replace the cord, paint it, and then put it in your truck. That's what
right,
you have to do,
yeah,
because buying a brand new, Snap on or Milwaukee blah 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 isn't in the cards. It's just not.
yeah,
So yeah. Well, so here you are. You're in the shop. You're building pretty sick fire trucks, which is a pretty cool deal. But where's the but in it? So are you struggling
yes,
with it, or are they treating you like
no.
crap, or what's up?
Um, I enjoyed the job. I genuinely enjoyed it. I mean, I know we kind of got off topic a little bit, but
Sorry.
we would base. No, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm the story of my
Oh,
life.
oh,
Uh, we would get just a cabin chassis in, and we would build an entire body for it.
oh,
Um, we had our own full time automotive electrician who would build
oh,
entire custom wiring harnesses for it, wire everything. I mean, and we were doing all this in probably like a 4,000 square foot shop.
yep.
Um,
So you're telling me you don't need, like, so twice you've told me that you
right,
built $750,000 boats in
right,
an old fiberglass shop with a
right.
circular saw. Now you're telling me, like, fire trucks are super expensive, and you're building
Yes,
full custom fire trucks in a 4,000 square foot building.
right.
Is that what you're
Yeah,
telling me?
I am telling you that.
Okay. So
Now, a
you
very well
don't
equipped
need,
4,000
for
square foot shop.
sure, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, again, I think there's a lesson
Yeah,
in here. Just want to let everyone know that there is a lesson here.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah. So yeah, they made it work. I believe we were kind of in like a I don't even know what the word is. Almost like a series of commercial units,
like
commercial
a
shop
like an
units.
industrial park kind of thing,
Yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah, exactly.
enterprise zone.
Correct. Yeah. So and then it would be I think it was like a 2,000 square foot shop, 2,000 square foot
Hmm.
shop, whatever, and it would just go
And you
down
could
the
just
row.
rent whichever one as your
Correct.
business.
Yeah.
You say, can I get these two, and I'll bust the
Yeah.
wall down or something.
Right. Yeah. So that's what they did. They purchased or rented. I don't know what they
Hmm.
did.
Yeah.
2 units.
That's an
Knocked one.
awesome way. Like,
Yeah.
you are trying to figure out some stuff and you live in a more
Yeah.
urban area. They have a lot of incentives. Like, you would be surprised how cheap the rent is in some of those
Yeah.
places. And you can grow with, like, you can
Yeah.
move through the building. Some of them that are actual enterprise zones, you can start in a garage and end in a 100,000 square foot
Yeah.
manufacturing facility,
Yeah.
all
Absolutely.
in
Yeah.
one park.
I believe they have. I think they have 4 or 5 units now.
Hmm.
So I think they've been expanding
That's
even
awesome.
further. I mean, they have a water jet now. I mean, they
Hmm.
got a lot of stuff now.
Hmm.
Uh, they I enjoyed the job.
Right.
I learned an absolute ton. Really was able to dial in even just aluminum fabrication. I mean, even
It's a beast.
fabricating. Yeah, yeah, it's totally different world.
Hmm.
Um, but my big thing was I wanted to join the military,
Okay.
and at the time when I was in high school, I wanted to join,
Hmm.
and my parent, or primarily my mom, convinced me to try the working world first. Try it, see how you like it. In a few years, if you don't like it, you're still young enough to go ahead and
Hmm.
do it.
Hmm.
So I was like, man, this is something that I really want to do. I was like, I need to do something. So I tried
Where
to
did
join the
that
Coast.
desire for the military come from? Like,
No idea.
dad wasn't in there, your mom wasn't in
Nope.
there. I don't
I
think.
have
I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, I have no. I have an uncle who I don't talk to very much, who was in the Air Force
Okay.
for 4 years. Other
Okay.
than that, nobody in my family on my mom or dad's side has any military history. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, so that's kind of where I was saying at the beginning is I am my father's son,
Uh
but
huh.
I am the complete opposite.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you feel
So
like you wanted to serve? Like, did you have this heart in you to, like, I want to serve my community, my country, or was it, I want to go shoot machine guns?
it was a little bit of both, honestly. A little bit
Okay.
of both. I guess I probably should have said this. While after I had got out into high school, um, my best friend started going to flight school to be a helicopter pilot.
Sweet.
So he did that school, and most schools, fixed wing or rotary, they will hire you once you graduate and become an instructor. So they will hire you because they're the ones who trained you.
Yeah.
So now you can do the training, and they'll pay you pennies on the dollar, and then you can build your time
Right.
and stay in your comfort zone and kind of do your thing. So he became a CFI, an instructor, and he asked me one day, he's like, "Hey, do you want to? One of my students canceled. Do you want to go fly?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's go do it." And I fell in love. Fell in
Wow.
love.
Wow.
So fell in love with aviation big time. Um, and so I started doing that on the side, which is it's like a drug. It's so bad,
Okay.
and it's so expensive. Uh, it's, yeah,
Here's
this is
another
like
common
yeah,
theme.
yeah. It's like this is like 2012, and it was like $250 an hour.
Perfect.
To yeah, it's great. So my parents
Perfect.
helped out a lot with that too, because they were like,
Shout out
well,
mom
you
and
didn't
dad.
you didn't go to you didn't go to college, so maybe you can go do this.
Mm.
So started flying there, and that's kind of where it also intersected with military service.
Okay.
I was like, well, I love aviation, and I really want to serve, and I really want to do something. And so I tried to join the Coast Guard,
Interesting.
and
Okay.
tried to because I was like, Coast
Because they
Guard
have a
is
ton
like
of helicopters.
yeah, and they're
Yeah.
they're very underrated. They have a
Mm-hmm.
really cool mission set. They have, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and all their aid is like domestic. So you're
That's
helping
awesome.
your country, which is super cool. You're
Yeah.
helping people who actually need it rather than playing a puppet for, you know,
This ain't a
government.
political show, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I
So,
do.
so I called the Coast Guard. They told me to call back in a month. Called them back in a month. They were like, "Yeah, we're not looking for anybody." So,
Interesting. Okay.
which, yeah. So
Hmm.
at the time, the Coast Guard had less people in the Coast Guard than NYPD has in employees.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
so they are a very small community, and so
Yeah.
they cherry pick people. They don't take a lot of people.
Hmm.
So I was like, man, what can I do? So I was like, I still like welding, but I want to be able to still do this. Let me go talk to the Army Guard. So talk with Army National Guard. Went and did all my ASVAB testing with them and stuff like that. And I was looking to become. I had two very specific jobs I wanted to do, which was a 15 Tango and a 15 uniform.
Okay.
One is the Tango is a UH-60 Blackhawk mechanic,
Oh,
and the
nice.
uniform is a CH-47 Chinook mechanic. So I was
Both
like,
pretty slick.
yeah. So they basically were like, the way National Guard works is your local National Guard unit, if they don't have those jobs available or open, they won't take you.
Ah,
They'll offer you other jobs, but if they only have 10, 15 Tango slots and they're full, there's nothing you can do.
right.
So
Because they're not
it
going to
was
move you to Texas.
to join the National Guard, and they never had any slots open. It was months and months of nothing.
Hmm.
They never had jobs open. They did not have any Chinooks there, so they only had Blackhawks there. So that was my only option. Um, and I kind of got tired of doing it, so I was like, well, let me go talk to someone else. Spoke with the Marine Corps. Marine Corps seems cool, but big issue with the Marine Corps is you can't actually pick your job in the Marine Corps. You can give them 3 options of what you would prefer, and if you don't want that, or if it doesn't fit the needs of the Marine Corps, you still won't get it. So it's kind of, yeah, they kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I ended up speaking with a active duty Army recruiter, and they were kind of the same issue where they didn't have any slots open. So it's kind of the same thing, but on a larger scale, that they only allow so many specific jobs open every month, and if they're filled prior to the next cycle of jobs opening up, then they won't open them up.
Oh,
So
weird.
it became,
Okay.
yeah. It's you wouldn't think, you'd think
Yeah.
they would take just anybody, but yeah, they did
I guess
not.
at that
So
point, it wasn't that wasn't the mission. That wasn't
right,
what they needed.
right,
So
exactly.
okay. All right.
So
They know what
they
they're
yeah, so it was like months. A
doing.
couple months went by, and I was like, hey, if you guys get a Tango or uniform slot open, let me know. And then one day I get a call from at the time, I think it was the first sergeant at the recruiting station, the higher up guy,
Hmm.
and he was like, man, he's like, I feel like you're pulling my leg. I feel like you're not actually going to join. And I was like, man, I was like, listen, I'll go to MEPS, which is like the in processing facility. I was like, I'll go to MEPS tomorrow if you can get me a 15 uniform slot.
Hmm.
And he's like, all right, come to the office after work. So I left work and I went there, and it was just him. And he calls up. I think it was called the Rock, which is like the recruiting office center, whatever. The Army likes acronyms.
Some big boss.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like this huge center, this call center that basically dictates what jobs open when and where and whatever the case was. So he calls up this person who he has a contact there. So they ended up opening up a single false 15 uniform slot for me. And
He must have needed to make his quota or
I
something.
guess so. I mean, at the time, I didn't know anything. I didn't
Right.
know anything. So I was like, all right, cool. It's like, yeah. And he's like, do you want airborne? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I was like, I guess. He's like, you want airborne? I was like, all right, cool, whatever.
He's just like, yes, I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was like, sure, whatever. As
Everyone
long as
else
I
is
get
going to
this.
join the because I can get that done too. You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they a couple days go by. I go to MEPS in process, and I'm in. It's called a delayed entry program. So I had
Okay.
4 months before I left, and I signed on the dotted line, and they're like, all right, cool, you're leaving in 4 months, whatever. Uh, January of 2014, I left for basic training. Went to basic training. Went to my individual school to learn my job. And then they were like, hey, you have airborne in your contract. I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, okay. And they're like, yeah, you're going to have to go back to Fort Benning in Georgia for airborne school. You're going to go jump out of planes. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And at the time, like, I mean, it's like when you're going through basic training and all your AIT, your individual training, it's like so disheartening. Just like the Army as a whole, you're just like, wow, this is so awful. Like, why did I do this?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's just so horrible because you have no freedom. You have zero freedom. And Mike, it's I think basic training is like 2 months, if I
Okay.
remember correctly. And then my AIT, my individual training, was like 18 weeks.
Oof.
So you have no freedom. I don't have a vehicle. I eat very regimented. Yeah, you're just very, very formal. Everything's formal. So it's just like, this is so stupid. Like, and I've learned, yeah, I've learned that if I learned this in the military, like further as my career progressed, but if you are someone who had, for lack of a better term, a big boy job outside of the Army. Like if you didn't join the Army when you were 17, 18, and you had somewhat of a big boy job and you kind of think for yourself,
Right.
the Army's probably not for you.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's very brainwashing. That's like
Hmm.
the goal is what they want to do.
Well,
Is
yeah,
they want to, yeah,
that's
I mean,
the
that's the whole
deal.
goal.
Yeah.
So I'm the kind of person who I was like, man, I think for myself. So I'm like, this is stupid. Why are we doing it this way? Or whatever the case was. So,
This
uh,
doesn't sound like a match made in heaven. That's for
no,
sure.
it didn't. So, and then I was like, man, I don't want to go at this time. I was like, I don't want to go to like a regular army unit and it's going to be the same stupid formal stuff. So at the time, there's something called 160th SOAR, which is SOAR, is a Special Operations Aviation Regiment.
Okay.
And, and the
Sounds
recruiter
nice.
came, yeah, the recruiter came to my training company and basically was like, hey, we're hurting for guys. We need guys. So if we typically don't accept people straight out of training, that we would rather have you have some like actual unit time.
Right.
But we're accepting people right now. He's like, so if you want to put in an application, you can. And they were stationed in Savannah, Georgia, uh, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and Joint Base Lewis McChord in Seattle, Washington area.
Mm.
So I was like, cool. I was like, well, those are the only three places that I can go if I get into this unit. So Kentucky seems pretty solid. I know the East Coast, like East Coast closest to home, so
Hmm.
cool. And if I go to Seattle, whatever, like let's do it.
Yep.
So I put in an application to go, and they approved me, and I came down on orders, and they were like, "Cool, you're going to go to our selection, um, and after your airborne school." So ended up going to airborne school, which is I think 3 weeks. You just jump out of planes
Hmm.
4 times, and the rest is all just learning and training and doing dumb stuff. Um, but
Real quick, the Special Operations Regiment, the Aviation Regiment, SOAR,
yep,
were they looking for mechanics, like
yeah. So they were looking for
engineers,
anybody. They were
anybody?
looking for they're not gonna take like an infantry guy.
Okay.
But they were looking for basically aviation electricians, wheeled vehicle mechanics, pretty much anything in the Army's aviation realm. They were looking for.
Okay.
Um, I mean, because they have, you can get as like, there's specific jobs as an aviation engine mechanic. So all you do is work on turbine engines. That's all you do.
Nice.
Then there's guys who only work on rotor blades and rotor heads and transmissions. And
Hmm.
so there's definitely a lot of different jobs. Um, so I went to airborne school, got to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, because that's where the selection process is, and started selection for, it's called Green Platoon for 160th, and it is very, very physically demanding,
Oh,
and
okay.
you do, they just treat you like crap the entire time. They like literally the entire time they treat you like crap. It's 4 weeks. Yeah, I think it's 4 weeks, and it is, each week is a certain phase. So we learned combat skills. So you basically do a lot of like gunfighter courses, stuff like that. Do like a lot of shooting and moving and shooting from a pistol, and all kinds of like type of gunfighter drills.
Hmm.
Um, and then a lot of physical exercise between that.
Hmm.
Um, and then you'd go to medical. There's a medical portion. There's a combatives portion where you do like hand to hand combat type deal. Um, and then I think the last one was land navigation.
Hmm.
And land navigation is pretty hard. You're basically reading from a map and compass, and you have to get to certain points within a certain time frame, and it's probably on like probably about 100-acre lot of woods, and you have, I think it was 5 or 6 hours to get to like 4 points.
Wow.
Um,
Just using
but yeah,
the tools that they gave you,
correct. Yeah,
the
correct.
compass,
Yeah,
your
cor-
general
correct.
sense of direction.
Yeah. So I graduated. I got selected. Um, at this time, I had been in the Army for, I think, 12, almost a year, and I hadn't even gotten my unit yet. So I came down on orders to come to Savannah, Georgia. Came down to Savannah, Georgia, and I was basically a crew member. Not a crew member. I was a mechanic, just turning wrenches and working on the 47s, which are the big tandem rotor Chinooks.
Okay, sure.
Um, massive
Very big.
aircraft.
Very
Yeah,
big.
very big. They're like one of the coolest aircraft.
Yeah.
Once you get to learn them, they're super fast, super agile. They're
Are they designed
incredible.
to move people or stuff?
So big army, like regular army, has CH, which is cargo helicopter. They are designed to haul stuff externally and internally.
So, like when you see a Chinook double rotor and it's carrying a
Yeah,
tank under it, or
correct.
whatever,
Yeah,
a Humvee,
yeah.
something,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
an air.
And then 160th has something called an MH-47, which is modular helicopter, and basically they turned this massive heavy lift platform into an assault platform. Um,
Oh,
and yeah, so you basically load up with 40 or like 30 or 40 special operations guys, whether it be Green Berets, Rangers, Navy SEALs, and you go hit a target in the middle of wherever and drop all these guys off. We have a lot of firepower on the aircraft,
mhm.
and be able to make a lot of destruction. But on the flip side, we can lift a lot of weight. We can do external loads. We're very modular helicopter.
Okay,
There's a lot of platforms that we can do.
that's cool. That's very cool, actually. Like,
Yeah. It
there's
was a
that
very cool job.
flexibility there.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So
piece of equipment is a pretty flexible thing. So cool. Awesome.
so they I was a mechanic for like 6 or 7 months, and my platoon sergeant at the time, we were getting ready to go back to Iraq, because Iraq had pulled out. Most people had pulled out of Iraq
Mhm.
um, in 2015, and it really was just a lot of foreign forces or civilian contractors or whatever the case was. Very little DoD, like actual Department of Defense guys there. So I asked to go. I was like, can I deploy? I just want to deploy. I want to do it, like get the experience. So they're like, okay, cool. You go on the rotator. So I went out, built up a couple helicopters. I was there for, I think, about 90 days.
Mhm.
160th. They don't do typical like 12-month rotations. They do anywhere from 30 to 120 days.
Interesting.
Just because the operation tempo is so high, and
Okay.
you're constantly working, constantly, and they burn you out too fast. And the missions are a lot higher risk, so they don't want guys who have been there for 9 months and who just don't care anymore or burned out or whatever the case is to make a mistake and get a lot of people
Even
killed.
down to, and I'm just wondering, like, so even down to like the mechanics, like they're just
Correct.
working nonstop,
Yeah.
trying to keep these
Correct.
things moving. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So you're pretty much we would do day shift. General mechanics just do day shift overseas. So they'll have a 12-hour shift doing whatever they need to do,
Hmm.
and not they're 160th store. They're called the Night Stalkers. So they only fly at night most of the
Okay.
time. So everything's under night vision. And so they would only in Iraq they did a lot of like embassy runs and stuff like that. So anytime they would land in the morning, they would write up in a logbook. Every aircraft had a laptop, and it was a digital logbook, and they would basically say, "Hey, we had this issue with this aircraft," and whatever the case was. And
Hmm.
the day shift would try to troubleshoot and figure out what was going on with that.
Right.
Um,
So that
so
definitely serious pressure and serious.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's you're going
yeah,
hardcore.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So this was I had deployed June, July, and part of August of 2015. So in Iraq, so it was like 130 degrees out. It was great. It was awesome.
Maybe not the
Uh,
130 part, but
yeah. But so basically maintenance guy, just a mechanic, wrench turner. I talked to my platoon sergeant, and he was like, "Man, I think you should go to flight company, which is basically you become a crew member."
oh, okay.
Um, So I was like, yeah. I was like, all right, let's do that. I want to do that. I want to be a crew member. I want to fly. I want to do missions, and ended up going there. And before there, you go to two more schools. One being it's called BMQ, Basic Mission Qualification Course, where you basically they teach you how to be a crew member.
Okay.
And then you go to SEER School, which I don't know if you've ever heard of SEER School.
Well, let's explain it.
It's
What,
it
what,
is
what it is.
survival, evasion, resistance, and extraction.
Okay. Is
So
that
it's basically
specifically for air crews? Like,
it's for anybody. So the school that I was in I was with potential Green Berets, like guys going through their pipeline to become a Green Beret. I was there with medics. I was there with basically anybody.
okay.
Um, and it's like a 4-week course of learning how to survive in the woods, how to get interrogated and not get killed.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds.
Yeah.
That's
They
terrible.
would. You get smacked around a lot. Yeah, it was fun. It was probably and as awful as a school it was in the retrospect of like getting hit and stuff like
Mhm,
that,
mhm.
getting like physically punished.
Really? Oh,
Yeah. Um,
hmm,
it was probably the best school in the army. It's just so
really?
well structured and you learn so much, and it's just it was an incredible school. But yeah, so came out, went there. I had met my wife in high school. At the time, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend when I had left for the military, and I had gotten back from SEER school. Shortly after that, we got married, and then about 2 weeks after I got married, I went deployed to Afghanistan.
Hmm.
Uh, did my first flight company rotation, which was an incredible experience. A lot of cool stuff happened. A lot of like terrible things happened. It was some things that I would never change for the world. I would never change how things went. Um,
Were you still mechanic? Like, so you're on a flight
yes,
crew. So
yes, yeah.
a
So you
mechanic
are.
or what?
Yep. Yeah. So you are a crew member and a mechanic. So anytime something breaks at night, if you're basically the job you do is you go land somewhere and drop off a bunch of guys, go to wherever the nearest base is, wherever the nearest just random piece of barren land is, and you just go land there and shut down, and you just wait for them to call and tell you to come pick up.
Okay.
So but yeah, so if something breaks, when you got to go pick them up, you got to figure it out. You got to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
So that's where.
That's an awesome job. Like that sounds pretty cool for problem solving, for just like, this matters. This actually matters.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I miss a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I miss a lot of that where it's like, it has to happen. There's no, oh, this is broken, we'll have to order the part. It is, we got to figure it out, bypass it, make it work, because we need to get guys off the ground because they can die.
Do you think that was in you, that you wanted to fix those problems, or do you think that developed there for you? Or
both?
Okay.
Both. That's 100% something that you're probably born with, or thoroughly instilled in when you're younger,
mm-hmm.
is to have the capability to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was a make or break a lot all the time. Something would break and you'd end, like, it's a lot of common problems, common issues with the aircraft. And then, like, there's auxiliary engines to start the engine. So you have to start one very small engine to start both main engines, and you'd have issues. And
it's kind of
where yeah, that's literally what it is. It's a pony motor, but it's like a 90 horsepower turbine engine.
Yeah, that's more than the five horsepower Briggs and Strat or Honda. On
exactly.
So that pony motor, like this auxiliary motor, just so I'm like, it's just so interesting to me.
Yeah.
That was like spinning a turbine, a little something for like air pressure or for.
Yeah. So
they don't have a starter, do they? Like, what's that?
They do. Yes. Yeah. It's a hydraulics. It's actually a starter. It's a motor pump. Okay. So it is a starter, and it's also a pump. So once it has an air charge, it's like an accumulator.
Okay.
That basically depletes its charge to spin this motor. Mm-hmm. Once it spins, it rises RPM, introduces fuel and spark to the system. It spins, I think, about 30,000 RPM, which is, it's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, they would become self-sustaining at one point, mm-hmm. So no longer needs spark introduced. So as long as it's getting fuel, it's running. At that point, after a certain RPM and transitional period, that motor turns into a pump. It has they call it like a wobble plate. There's a lot more stuff associated with it.
The old moves over.
It has a thing that does
with
this.
The roto girder.
Yep. Yeah. So turns into a pump. So now we have hydraulic power.
Okay.
It also had a AC generator. So now we have AC power.
Okay.
So we can do pretty much anything on the aircraft other than run the main engines. The main engines started via hydraulic power.
Okay.
So the starters were hydraulic, and that's what we used. Not to cut off.
Mm-hmm.
My charger's not working.
Okay.
So, but I'm gonna run up to the house real quick and grab the charger.
We can pause
and see. Or give me a second.
No problem. Yeah, no worries.
I don't want to keep talking and get distracted.
Yeah. No worries.
Give me. There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
So so this APU, this auxiliary power unit, this pony motor, mm-hmm. would have occasional issues on most aircraft where it would read an overtemp when starting up, and it would automatically shut down. And it's not super common, but common enough to where people have noticed it and have tricks to it. Mm-hmm. And one specific instance where we were in Jalalabad, Afghanistan. We were waiting to pick these guys up, and our APU just randomly shut down. And we were like, cool, like, that's not good. So we're like, cool, that's not good. So we try to start it up, and it's getting an overtemp code, basically saying, hey, the engine's overtemping, it won't run. So I remember sitting there. Typically, there was a little like exhaust gas temperature plug on the back of the exhaust cone, and you just replace it or unplug it and replug it, kind of deal.
Mm.
But we didn't have one, so we. I remember grabbing a chem light, like a glow stick, and cutting the wrapper in half and sticking my hand in the hot exhaust and sliding the chem light wrapper over the temp probe, and it fired right up. It fired right up. Blew the wrapper off. Fired right up. Immediately fixed the problem. I was like, all right, let's get out of here now. So,
Go.
but yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of things where you gotta get the mission done. The mission comes first. Everything comes first. And the unit that I was in, it just constantly demands excellence. Like even still to this day, it eats people up and chews them out,
Really?
and spit, or it eats people up and
Yeah.
spits them out. Yeah, not chews them out. But yeah, just it's a constant demand of excellence. Everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to go exactly how everything needs to go, and
Right.
it was a very enjoyable job until you get into like the politics and
Uh,
the army aspect of it. That's where it was like, this sucks. So probably about 2016, I had purchased a house here in Savannah,
mhm.
and I had a 2-car garage. So I'm like, man, I kind of want to get back into welding. I enjoyed welding.
While you were doing the mechanic work for the army, were
Hmm.
you did you have a welder at the house? Were you doing welding in your job description, or not your job description, but like was it
No,
welding
not
new? You were just
no.
totally not doing
Yeah,
MIG. That's all.
I hadn't welded in probably 3 years.
But it was still like an itch
Still,
from
yeah, yep,
scratch. Huh.
yeah. So I was like, man, I miss it. I was like, I miss it. And I remember uh, I had bought a Miller Passport Plus.
Nice.
I don't know if you
I,
remember
I
those.
do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
I
what
still
is it? Describe it. What's up with
it's
this thing?
it is the original OG Miller MIG that's in a Pelican case.
Yep. Hmm.
And it plugs into 110 volts or 220, and it uses paintball. I think 9 ounce
Yep.
paintball CO2 tanks.
CO2
You can
cartridges.
run so you can run your own shielding
Did
gas.
it also have like a DINS connector or a Tweeko connector that you could
No,
engine drive? No, it didn't. Okay,
no,
I
it did
wasn't. I
not.
was
No,
never sure about that. I always wondered about that because I've never
I
run
know. I know Hobart had their version of it,
one.
and I
Mhm.
think it was battery powered, and it might have had that dense conversion.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I had never
Yeah,
run one, and I always wanted to ask
yeah,
somebody that. So
yeah.
thanks.
I still got that sticker. I love that stupid
Yeah,
thing.
it's.
I
I
used it
mean,
yesterday.
they never die. They literally
No,
never.
it literally, yeah. I mean, I've had it since 2010, I think, and
People ask me on the regular, like, "Whoa, what should I buy? What should I buy, welders
yeah,
wise?" And I'm always like, "Dude, get the best Miller or Lincoln or
yeah,
Hobart. Like you can." And I have nothing against the Eastwoods and the thermal, all
yeah,
the knockoff
yeah,
brands, the other brands. I have nothing against them. But in my life, in my career, I have seen these older machines go
yeah,
like an
forever.
old Dynasty or an old like the original inverter machines that Miller made, like the Dynasties, I think they were, run for 20 years in a factory
Yeah,
every day and
yeah,
like not have a problem. Like
yeah,
that's awesome. You can't
yeah.
beat that. Is
No,
your Everlast going to do that? And it might. I'm not saying it won't, but
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't
You
know.
never know. It's a
Never.
gamble.
It is. Um,
Yeah,
and they could
yeah.
be the
So
best machines on earth. So whatever. But
yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. So I was like, man, I miss welding. So
Hmm.
um, I had purchased actually it's right up there, right up in that guy.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah, it's a North Star TIG 200. Never
Nice.
heard of them ever again,
Yeah.
but I've had it for a long time,
Hmm.
and it's been great. I use it for mobile work now.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I purchased that and I started doing little odds and end jobs, like guys who I worked with in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Savannah itself is huge in race cars. Like
Oh yeah.
the drag racing race car scene here in Savannah is huge.
Okay. What about NASCAR? That too, or is it primarily
No,
drag?
no, primarily drag.
Okay.
Um, it's huge here. So
Mm-hmm.
so many people have race cars. So I started doing like little odds and ends, welding bungs on intakes and doing some stainless exhausts and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I really enjoy doing this. I mean, I don't think I was making any money on any of these jobs, but I was just enjoying doing them.
Yes.
Uh,
Incredible.
and I was like, man, I was like, I enjoy doing this, and I was kind of trying to get my rhythm going. And around 2018, it was the military was a 6-year commitment,
Okay.
so I was in for I'd be in for 6 years, and around 2018, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna re up,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I'm gonna reenlist. I was like, I think I'm gonna go leave and do something. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna go do something. Um, so at the time, I was like, man, maybe I should try starting my own welding business. I was like, I'm a pretty good welder. I was like, I'm pretty decent. I was like, and I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure there's people way worse than me, and they're doing all right.
Yeah.
Uh, so I yeah, so I formed an LLC in January of 19,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, I think 19. Formed my LLC, and I was like, well, let me start trying to get some more work and start doing it. And I was doing like little handrails here and there, and like
Sure.
all cash jobs.
Oh yeah, baby.
Um, yeah, the best. But um, yeah, so started doing that. Started getting a little more legit now that I had my LLC, so I can kind of push more work. Um, Ended up getting on doing some work here and there with some small contractors, like home restoration type guys, doing small structural work. And I
Okay.
didn't know what the hell I was doing, but most of these guys, they didn't know what they were doing either. But they're small enough to where I'm talking to the owner. I'm like, hey, I don't understand this blueprint at all, and we would both figure it out. Like I had a lot of really good customers in the beginning, and I still have a lot of really good customers, but they helped me grow
Mm-hmm.
because going from 6 years in the military to to not like knowing nothing. I don't. There's not a lot that I remember. I remember how to weld, but I mean, reading blueprints. The
Right.
only blueprints I read were SolidWorks printouts of like a build sheet on a building an aluminum toolbox on a fire truck. That was the extent of my blueprint reading. So
Yep.
a lot of stuff like that I just never knew it, never really thought to know it or learn it. So a lot of, and I'm still learning. I still don't. There's some stuff that I still don't know what the hell I'm looking at, and I'm like, I gotta call and ask someone. I'm like, hey, what the hell is this? Like,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're stupid. This is what it is. It's
Right.
like, oh, all
Well,
right, cool.
there's that being teachable and being
Yeah,
curious and having some humility. There
right.
it is
Yeah,
in action. You say, I can do this part, but hey,
yeah,
listen, I don't know what this thing says. It's
yeah,
not in language I understand. Can you translate or help? Can we figure it out together? And
right,
thankfully, you had people in your corner, even if they didn't know
right.
they were like, "Oh, you're the guy I got. So
Right.
let's
Right.
go and
Yeah.
figure it
Yeah.
out."
Yeah.
We know,
I'm obligated to help you,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. And hey, like I need this wall or I need this column, and it has to be here, or I can't go. So I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you would have been much further behind if you said, "I'll figure it. I got it. I
Yeah.
know what I'm doing. I know. I know."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one huge thing I learned in the military. I mean, I kind of learned it when I started working at that firematic shop,
Hmm.
but learning it, it really instilled in me is like, always get ready to be humbled.
Mm,
Like, you will get humbled so fast by somebody if
mm,
you just go in there thinking you know what, like thinking that your shit doesn't stink. I
hmm.
don't know if we can curse on here,
You can
but
do it.
yeah, yeah.
It's all.
If you think your shit doesn't stink, be prepared to be humbled.
Mhm.
So that's how, like, I always try to like act like I don't know everything, and I
Mhm.
always I always want to learn. There's always something to learn, and everybody can have something to teach you.
Heck, yes.
Um,
Yeah, 100%, man. That is
yeah,
that, and that is not the standard culture in
no,
a lot of the trades,
no, it's
and
not.
some are worse than others for sure. Yeah, some are way worse, and generally, but that attitude of like, I'm not the man.
Right.
I'm here. I'm helping. I want to learn. I want you. You could teach, and you don't even have to say anything. Most of the time, if you just keep your mouth shut,
Yeah,
you'll learn a heck of a lot.
yeah,
And you may
yeah,
not have to even ask the question if you just
yeah.
open your eyes and shut your mouth and
Shut
look
up and
around.
watch.
Like, oh, that guy's welded it around it. Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Or oh, that's where that goes. Oh, cool.
yeah.
Just be
It's huge.
curious, you
Yep.
know. So
Yeah. So yeah. So I was getting ready to get out. This is 2019. And I was like, man, I'm not. I think I was making like 40 or 50 grand a year through the business,
hmm
and I was
like
like, I am.
gross,
No, 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 no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Gross.
like
Sorry.
gross,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
big
yeah,
number,
yeah,
top line, all
yeah.
my
Total
receipts
number.
for the year,
Yeah, total number was
no
like
cost
40,
taken
50 grand.
out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was not making a lot of money. So
There
I
you
was like,
go. There you
man, at this point, I was like, there's no way I can sustain myself and get out. I was like, it'd be foolish for me to even try.
go.
So I started looking for a couple jobs. Um, I believe the Army has this program. If I remember correctly, I think it's called the CSP program. I don't remember what the hell the acronym stands for,
Okay.
but basically, if you're within 18 months of retirement or getting out of the Army or basically just separation from the
Mhm.
military, um, as long as it's like a legitimate business, you can go and work on the Army's dime or the military's dime at
What?
whatever this company is to learn,
Wow.
or to go to a school.
That sounds awesome.
So, yeah. So at the time, I was like, man, I was like, what do I need? Like any of these, there weren't really any welding schools. I was like, man, I was like, if there's anything that I need to learn, I should try learning something completely different, like
Hmm.
something outside of welding. Like,
Okay.
not that I have welding down, but it's just I'd rather learn something completely different. So I was like, I think I'm gonna get my CDL. So they, yeah, I mean, it kind of connects with everything that I do. Kind of
Yeah,
connects
for
with
sure.
everything I do. Yeah. So I went ahead and got my CDL through Troops into Transportation, which is a horrible place. Don't ever send anybody there. They are horrible.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I will
So
make a mental note of it.
yeah. So yeah. So if you ever hear anybody, hear a veteran or someone getting out of the Army about going into Troops into Transportation, don't ever go in there.
All right.
They're terrible. So
And that's where you went.
that's where I went.
Oh, good. Good.
Ended up not getting my CDL because they uh, they 2 days before test day, the whatever police department was at the school arrested three of their instructors because they were taking bribes, and they arrested the state inspector, the guy who actually did your road test, for the same
Oh
thing.
my.
So yeah,
Oh
so they were like, cool, we took part of your GI Bill money. They're like, we took whatever it was, like $9,000 of your GI Bill money, and sorry, like,
my. No CDL for
CDL,
you.
yeah, no
Yeah.
CDL for you.
Perfect.
They're like, we can send you to another school, or we can send you to the Miami school or wherever it was. I was like, well, yeah, but like, the Army is very specific on days that they allow you to go do something else. So you only have that vacation days from day 1 to day 30 or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh yeah, we'll just send you down there. And I'm like, well, I can't do that because I don't have the days,
That's the
and
days.
yeah, you have to
Yeah.
restart all the paperwork, the whole
Oh,
process, everything needs to yeah. So I
oh,
was
what
like,
a
cool, you guys are
mess.
worthless, thanks. So I ended up going to the Georgia tag office, and there is a form that allows you basically your military driving record. So if you've ever had any training, formal training inside a military's version of a Freightliner
Hmm.
or like a semi,
Hmm.
whatever the case is, you can transfer it into from your military driver's license to a civilian driver's license. So I literally just filled out some paperwork and I I got my CDLA,
Oh,
and it
that's
was
awesome.
yeah,
Oh,
total loophole. I was like, this is such BS, but whatever.
yeah. Yep.
Um,
Here, you gave them your $87 and they're happy there.
yeah, literally exactly. Yeah, it was like
Imagine,
$100. Uh,
imagine that.
so I started looking for jobs. I went and looked at. I applied to. We have Yancey Caterpillar down here. They had a job opening for a welder fabricator in their facility, which
Sure.
Yancey's their location here in Savannah is huge.
Okay.
Um, and I was like, cool, I'll apply. And I applied, and they were like, hey, we need someone to actually start sooner than you can. So see ya. Like we're not interested.
Oh, okay.
I was like, okay,
Cool.
cool. I was like,
Thanks for
all
letting
right,
me
what?
know.
Yeah. And they didn't get that job position filled for like 6 months, but whatever.
I applied to a heavy construction equipment or heavy construction company one time, and I had been running my own business for like 7, 8 years at the
Yeah,
time. I had a huge amount of manufacturing, uh, you know, experience. I had been in construction for 9 years, and I filled out this application for a laborer position. It was like a summer laborer position,
yeah,
and I was like, because I had some time off in the summer, and I was like, yeah, it'll be. I want to get that experience, maybe get some new relationships, and they sent me an email back like 6 weeks later. Uh,
right.
Sorry, you are underqualified or not qualified for this position. It was literally like the job
Yeah,
description was like shovel operator, and I was like,
yeah.
oh,
You're trash. Go away.
okay, yeah, I guess I don't have the necessary, skills to push it. And that's what I wanted to do was literally I wanted to be a laborer.
Yeah,
Take some time, like I just needed a little break or whatever. But it's just funny, like
right.
sometimes the way that corporations
It's so
hire
stupid.
and fire, it's like, have you never talked to a human being before?
No.
Like
Yeah, literally no.
it's weird, man. It's so weird.
Yeah,
So you didn't
yeah.
get on with
So
Yancey at the
did
time.
not. Nope. I applied to a couple other companies, and they were super interested. I went to a couple interviews, did a couple weld tests, and it was really just like informal weld tests,
Right.
and it was all just awful pay. It was like, yeah, we would start you off at $17 an hour, and I'm like, that's horrible. Like as you progress in the military, especially being in the unit that I was in, you get incentive pays
Mhm.
for being special.
Sure.
Um,
Not crayon eating short bus
yeah, yeah,
special either.
yeah.
Yeah,
Different kind of special.
different kind of special. Yeah,
So I mean, I was making decent money. The
sure.
money's not bad.
Money's good.
Yeah. So I was like, man, this is horrible. I'm not going to do
Yeah.
that. Went and applied to be a millwright at a lumber yard that's probably about 10 minutes up the road from me. No millwright experience, absolutely
Don't
zero.
need
They wanted like I think like 6 to 8 years of millwright experience or whatever it was.
being
So
being a mechanic for aircraft in the
right,
military in a special operations unit is
yeah,
literally all they do not need any other experience because
and
anything a
that's
millwright
literally
does is basically just we don't have the right stuff, we don't know what we're doing, but
right,
fix it. Okay, I got
right,
on it. That's all. You
yeah.
don't. What
Say no
millwright
more.
is the best. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I was like, this sounds like a good job. This sounds like a really good fit for me. And in their questionnaire, I basically put that exact thing. I was like, I have zero millwright experience,
Hmm.
but I work in a special operations community on helicopters where it constantly demands X, Y, Z, and like
Yeah.
puff it up and
If you got problems, we solve them. That's what I've been
right,
doing for the
exactly,
past
yeah,
8 years. Yeah.
exactly,
And I can
yes,
weld. I'm just throwing it out there. I can weld, and I've
right,
done some mechanic work because I work on airplanes or
yeah. So,
helicopters. So yeah.
so they I went in for an interview. They were super interested.
Mhm.
They were like, I met with, I guess, the millwright foreman and some other guy. I don't know who.
Hmm.
They asked a couple questions, but they were like, "Man, honestly, you sound good head on your shoulders." Blah blah blah, whatever.
Right.
Like, we'll talk with you in a couple days. So a couple days go by. I get a call. They offer me like I think $26 an hour or something
Sure.
like that. I was like, cool. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, I would love to do that. I was like, my issue is I can't start for like 3 or 4 months because that's when I get out of the military. And they were like, yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. They're like, okay, cool. Expect a phone call next week to set up your drug test and all your other
Yeah.
pre-employment
Blah
BS.
blah.
Never heard anything. I never
Oh.
heard any. I never heard anything at all
Mm.
for up until about 2 weeks before I got out of the military. So I was starting to panic a little bit, and anybody who I ever called there, I could never get in touch with anybody. They would be like, "Oh, we'll have to call you back," or "We don't know who you spoke with," or "We don't know this." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Oh
I was like, "I have no idea what's going on." So at the time, one of my buddies had just gotten out of the military, probably about 4 or 5 months prior to me, and he went to go work for Peterbilt as a diesel mechanic.
no. Okay.
And he calls me, and it was a Friday, and in the unit we were in, every month we would get a 4 day weekend.
Nice.
Um, so it was either a Friday or a Monday. I don't remember what it was, but he calls me and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "Are you working?" I was like, "No, I'm going to a job for my business, but." I was like, I'm on my way home right now. I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Well, we just had a dude get fired. Do you want to come in an interview?" I was like, "Well, I'm in my service truck and I'm disgusting and gross and I'm heading home right now." And he's like, "Nah, he doesn't care. Just come on in." I was like, "Okay, cool."
Nice.
So I went in
Nice.
and we kind of I talked with the service manager for a little bit, and I was like, "Listen, I don't really know a whole lot." I was like, "I've worked on diesel engines here and there." I was like, "But nuts are nuts and bolts are bolts." And I worked on aircraft, and I said,
Yeah. Nice.
electrical diagnostic is a little bit over my head. I said, and all this emissions after treatment stuff now. I was like, I don't know anything about that. And he's like, "You're good, man." He's like, you're good.
There's that
He's like, we can,
honesty again. Go
yeah,
for it.
yeah. He's like, we can start you off at 25.50 an hour. I said, that's fine. I was like, works for me. I was like, I get out. I was like, I get out in 2 weeks on whatever day it was on a Friday. I was like, I
Mhm.
can start that Monday. And he's like, okay, perfect. 2 days
Nice.
before I separate from the military, before I go on my, because it's called terminal leave. You can save up all your vacation days,
Nice.
so you can double dip. So you get paid in your new job and get paid by the army on your vacation days.
Right.
So I had like 110 days saved up of, yeah. So
Nice.
I made a lot of money my
Yeah.
last month. I made a lot of
Three
money.
months. You were doing pretty
Yeah,
good for them first 3.5 months.
yeah. So they I get a call from the lumber yard
Yeah.
2 days before I get out, and they're like, "Hey, we're ready to start your blah blah your pre-employment." I was like, "Where have you guys been? You guys told me that you were gonna call me a week after I got my offer letter, and I haven't heard anything. I haven't been able to get in touch with you. I sent emails. Left voicemails. I was like, I've never been able to get back with anybody." Like, "Oh, who'd you talk to?" I was like, "I talked to
This
blah
guy.
blah
Blah,
blah blah
blah,
blah."
blah.
Yeah, yeah. And they were like, "Oh yeah, no, we don't know." I was like, "Yeah, well, I'm not taking the job anymore, but I don't
Yeah.
know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know what
mean,
to tell
dude,
you."
there, that is a communication problem.
Yeah,
Like, lost. I mean, even if you were like a mediocre, just guy who's going to punch the clock, they had a
yeah,
position to fill. They had someone who was qualified to do it, and because of lack of communication,
yep,
they lost that opportunity. And now they have to then spend all the money that it takes, and they lost all that money. It's gone
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Now they got to do it again,
yeah. They got to
and
start
they're
the
not
whole
going to learn
process again.
that lesson. They're not going
Yeah,
to learn that lesson.
no,
And
they won't. They don't care.
it's, yeah, they just like, I don't understand it. And then they wonder why, like, how many times now have you been in and around a shop or something and they're like, oh, nobody wants to work. I can't find anybody to work. And it's
Yeah,
like, I don't know. I wouldn't work for you either.
no,
Like,
yeah, I
I
wouldn't.
love working.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I love.
Like,
Yeah,
I
I don't
like
know
it.
why. I don't know why, but I enjoy working.
Yeah. And I mean, we can talk about that too, because that's like an actual important, I think that's an important conversation to have. Like, it's okay to not be lazy. It's
Yeah,
okay. Like, in this, I've noticed in the trades, and I'm sure it's everywhere, but I've noticed that every day on a lot of these job sites is a competition to who can do the least. It's
Yeah.
just I don't
Yep.
like I don't understand it. It's like how little can we get done today, and whoever can do the least
Yeah.
today, it's like a slow race. And now like the benefit of that is if you do the bare minimum, you're an excellent employee. It's just to some
Right.
places. But anyway, yeah, just communication, the best kept secret.
Yeah. Yeah. So they ended up leaving, got out of the army on a Friday, started Peterbilt Monday,
Nice.
um, and worked there as a diesel mechanic, still running the business.
Okay.
Um,
Were you
and
making any changes to the business, or like were you trying to figure out how to make it? Were you like thinking, I want to quit already? I just want to do my business. Like, were you reading a
yeah,
book? Anything was a business.
yes. So I got to the point where um, I mean, when I was getting out of the army, I wanted to go full time business ownership,
Right.
but I knew I wasn't even close to, not even financially able to like support myself. Like I had a good bit of savings. Like I'm relatively financially responsible, so like it wasn't like the savings portion; it was the income portion where I knew like, all right, I'm not making a whole lot of money, but it wasn't so much that as it was
Hmm.
like I'm just I don't know which direction I want to bring the business. So when I started it doing
Right.
cash jobs, I was doing car exhausts and like automotive performance stuff, and I liked it. But then I was like, "There's no money in it. There's no money in it. Everybody wants perfection for pennies." So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's not really where I want to be. And then kind of was like, well, maybe I'll just start doing almost like strictly handrails and kind of do a couple other things here and there. And I didn't really know, and I guess I still really don't know. I do a little bit of everything. I don't really have a niche, so it kind of gets to uh, where while I was at Peterbilt, I was able to. My service manager was pretty cool in the retrospect of the dealership in Savannah does not weld. They don't even have a welding machine there.
Wow.
So yeah, so
How do you not have a
bolt.
welder in a truck garage?
I don't know. I
That's
have no idea.
crazy. That's
So
crazy.
um, tank repair, aluminum tank repair, bolt extractions, all kinds of stuff like that. I wasn't allowed to do on company time, but if the vehicle was sitting in their yard or if the vehicle was like mobile to where it could come to my shop, I was able to do the work and he would refer me.
Hmm.
So it was nice being able to be like, okay, cool, this 120-gallon tank that sits on the side of this Peterbilt 389 is he hit something in the road and put a big gash in it and
Hmm.
it's $4,000 for a new tank because we can't weld it. And I would be like, hey, Peterbilt can pull the tank off at the shop. I'll load it on my truck. I'll put it in, bring it to my shop, weld it up, bring it back in the morning, and I'll install it. So Peterbilt makes money, and then I make money on it.
Right.
So it was like kind of like a little bit of a gray area as far as
Hmm.
moonlighting and kind of conflict of interest, but they
They
it
didn't
ended up
have a
working out
welder,
really well.
so
So
yeah.
right, yeah, exactly, yeah. They didn't have a welder. They don't have they and this Peterbilt dealer was relatively new. They were only a couple years old. So
Mm.
they don't have the establishment of network of people. Like they don't have, oh, we have 4 welders that we've used before or whatever. They didn't know anybody. So I was able to kind of get into there. I was at Peterbilt for about 14 months or so, and the probably about the year mark, I was just so fed up with like management and stuff like that. They were having some corporate management issues, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And I was working. I would get there at whatever time, 7:30 in the morning, go home at 5, come home at 5, eat dinner, and then go into the shop until midnight. And I
Hmm.
was like, I'm so over this. It's like
Yeah.
this is a lot. This is a lot. I've been doing this for like 9 months, and this is a lot. So
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I'm in the position where I can probably take the leap now at this point. So I kind of gave them like almost like a 60-day heads up, like saying, hey, this is going to be my notice, and I'm leaving whatever it was, February of 21.
Hmm.
And yeah, so left right as COVID kicked off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You can't
yeah,
skip
yeah,
that.
no, no.
So
So
real quick to back up just a hair. I want to like back the train up a minute.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you're working. Did you hate the work at
no,
Peterbilt? So you like the
no,
work.
yep,
Did you get along with the boys pretty good in the shop?
yeah,
Like were
yeah.
they pretty decent to
All of
you?
the all of the other
What's
mechanics and techs were. Two of them were prior Night Stalkers, so we were in the same
so
unit
that's
together.
awesome, right?
Yeah, so we were all pretty close to each other, and all the other guys. I mean, it's the trade, so like
Yeah,
everybody's a little stupid. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like where
yeah.
everybody can
Oh,
get
yeah,
down, and we can have a good
yeah,
time and
yeah.
scream and yell in the shop, like
Mhm.
just
So
have a good time.
so you like the work, you like doing it,
Yeah,
you like the guys you were with. Did they pay you pretty good?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty good. You still
yeah. It was
left.
good.
You
Still
still
left.
left. You still
Yep.
left. Would you think if you didn't have the business on the side that you would have still tried to leave? Or did the business like
In
kinda-
in exploration to go to the business,
no, I'm saying like if you didn't have the business at all, like no welding, you were
would I
just being
would
a
I go to
mechanic,
another job?
would you have been like, I'm looking for another job. I'm out of here. I
Uh,
gotta go.
Probably.
Yeah.
I probably would have. Yeah.
So the main
Yeah.
determining factor was bad management.
Yep. Yeah. A hundred
Am I
percent. Yeah.
correct in
Matt.
saying that?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like,
Yep.
okay, I don't want to belabor the point, but like,
Yeah.
so you had a guy who's fired up, ready to roll,
Right.
has skills, is going above and beyond. You're taking work home with you. You're
Right.
getting paid decent. You have a
Yeah.
good time at work, like, and you're still
Yeah.
ready to go. Without a parachute, you still would have tried to jump. You would have tried to
Correct. Yeah.
find another job
Yeah. I would have
because
went somewhere else.
management above you was doing such a bad job. And
Yep.
you leaving, did that have an impact on management? Did they say, "Oh man, we better fix our show,"
No.
or no?
No.
So
Nope.
I want to point that out and like as very explicitly as I can that if you own a business and you're listening, if you want to own your own business, it matters how you run it. It
Yep.
matters how you take care of the guys. And taking care of the guys is not primarily money. It's not primarily culture. There's something else going on. If you're, what
Yep.
was it? What was so bad about that management that you were just like, and maybe it wasn't like you were like going home wanting to, "Grr," but it's so
Yeah.
bad that it made you want to leave so much. Like, what was
So
going on?
we, when I first got there, we had a very very educated foreman who basically took me under his wing and taught me a lot. He taught me so much, and I mean, he kind of threw me into the fire
Nice,
from day one, and like forced me to learn. Yeah, forced me to learn and
nice.
forced me to like adapt and figure out what I need to do.
So he didn't
Um,
take it easy on you.
no, not at
He
all. No,
didn't
he didn't
coddle
coddle me at all.
you
Yeah,
or
he
like
threw
try
me
to ease
straight into
you
the
in.
fire.
Okay,
Yep, and
that's
he was
big thing.
yep, yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
was great, and I loved him, and I for probably 8 months. Yeah, probably 7 8 months. I mean, I loved coming into work. I woke
Hmm.
up and I was like, yeah, hell yeah, let's go, let's do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna learn how to in-frame an engine, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna do this and whatever. And he, him and his wife, the wife she worked at the same location. Um, she was a parts girl. He was the foreman. I don't really remember what happened, but something happened to where they both looked for other employment.
Okay.
Um, I believe it was something on her end where she was mistreated in some way. I don't remember
Okay.
what the case was, but
But
whatever it
something
was,
happened,
yeah,
and then now they
yeah,
want to go. Now you have two more people in this system
correct.
that are like, oh, let's go.
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, they left. They went to the Kenworth dealer here in Savannah, and then we kind of juggled foremans. And the
Mm,
service manager, as I love the service manager. He's a very good person. He's a very good person, very nice guy. Just was not fit for management.
mm,
So he would get very stressed, or you would make a suggestion to him. Because at the time when I originally got hired, I got hired to be a mobile tech, to run a service truck. We didn't have a service truck. No service truck was to be had. So
oh,
they were like, whenever we get a service truck, we'll put you in it. Okay, cool. Never got one. But
one day.
the Yeah, but corporate was like, hey, you need to start doing service work. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, what am I driving? Like, am I driving a pickup truck with nothing in it? Like, are you expecting me to grab all my tools out of my toolbox to put them in a little bag and put them in the bed of the truck? Like, what do you want from me? And I just remember, like, it was like the nail in the coffin was I had to drive. It was two instances. One of them was I had to replace an unloader valve, which is part of the air system,
Okay.
the air system on a truck. Um, replace the unloader valve on a truck in it was like an hour away. So they gave me the part, and I was like, I don't know what I need. What do I need? Like how am I expected to do this job with like I can't empty my entire huge Snap-on toolbox into a bag and carry everything. So I was just like, you know what, screw it. I'll just take my truck, my personal truck, which was a mistake on my part because I should have
Mm,
just let them sink.
yes.
Uh, and so I took my truck at the time, and I did the job, and I used my tools and all my stuff to do it, and their parts. Swapped that out, and they're like, "Yeah, this is great, good job, excellent job, blah blah blah, whatever." And then another job came by, and they told me to do the same thing, and
Mm,
so it was replace a drive shaft in a brand new truck because the the new drive shaft came damaged or whatever the case was. I
sure.
replaced it, and it was a huge assembly. It was on like a rollback truck, so the drive
Oh,
shaft was like 10 feet long
oof,
and huge, super
yeah.
heavy, and it was just me in a my pickup truck,
Ugh,
and I was like, okay, like all right, I know what I need to take a drive shaft apart, so let me just grab the tools, put it in the pickup truck, and I just remember struggling. I remember struggling and being so frustrated, being like, I just drove an hour and 45 minutes to go replace this drive shaft with nothing. I
yeah.
have nothing. I have no tools. I have nothing to make my work my life easy. And I was just so angry the whole time because like this has been something that has been going on for almost a year now of
Mhm,
yeah, we're going to get a service truck. Oh yeah, we're going to do this. And
yeah.
I've been barking up the tree of, hey, I was like, can you guys just buy like a 48-inch job box, put like a document protector in the lid, and put an inventory sheet and have a little bit of oil, ratchet straps, some nuts,
Easy.
bolts, air
Yeah.
fins, brake clean, like little things like you wouldn't think you would need, but if you break one, you need it. Like,
Yeah.
and now
Well,
you don't
zip
have to try.
tie, you know,
Zip ties, yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. Zip ties,
rags,
little like
brake
art,
clean,
yeah, yeah, all that
a
stuff.
grease
And he's like,
fitting.
yeah, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. Let's do that. And he never did it. And
Right.
like, I would constantly be like, hey, can we please do this? Can we please do this? You keep sending me on these mobile jobs, and I'm not going to use my personal stuff anymore. I was like, I'm not doing it. And it just became like this cat and mouse game of I would be like, can we do this? Yeah, we'll do it. Wouldn't do it.
Mm,
So they kept demanding more, and I would get the job done because I'm not that kind of person to give
right.
up.
Yeah. To say I
So
quit. Like not
yeah,
quit the job,
yeah,
like
yeah, but
for
just
you,
basically be like,
but like
hey,
I'm
sorry, I
not gonna
can't put
finish this.
yeah, I can't put this drive shaft in, so figure it out, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like I'm
No.
not that kind of person,
Yeah.
so it was just very frustrating. And then we ended up cycling multiple foremen through,
Ugh.
and some of the foremen were just so like just didn't know anything. They just did not know anything. They were very new. They were very green. Or it was the same thing. They were really good people, just not good leaders or good
Mhm.
management.
Mm-hmm.
And like, especially as a foreman, you need to be more of like a leader and a mentor rather than a manager or a supervisor.
Right.
Like, so you need to be able to hold your mechanic's hand or your technician's hand in the event that he's lost.
Right.
But so now all these guys, the 8 mechanics that were in this dealership are like, hey, we run into this issue, and now nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows how to do. Everybody looks like an idiot because nobody
Mm-hmm.
knows what's going on. They can't find this problem. So now, fortunately, Peterbilt has like all these dealer services. So like you could talk to like a Peterbilt engineer who does this, and he can kind of walk you through it. But it's just a headache, and
Yeah.
you're costing your customer $175 an hour on your ignorance or
Right.
on your lack of knowledge,
Right.
and it's at some point it just becomes not fair to your customer.
Right.
So so that was kind of like the nail in the coffin. I was like, man, I need to go. So
Yeah.
and then working like 19-20 hour days constantly, I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
burning out. This
Sure.
is getting too much for me. So February of 21 I left and went full time.
Yeah.
And
When you say
the
you went full time, like what were you focusing on? Like, were you just like, I need to eat, so I'll take anything, or were you like,
Yeah,
I
pretty
have,
much.
oh, okay. Did
Yeah,
you
pretty
have
much. The only
a plan, or
What's that?
you have a plan to grow?
Um,
Did you have any support? Like,
Not really. I mean, the support was I continued to get work from Peterbilt.
okay,
I continued to get work from the other previously established customers, like through the home restoration companies and stuff like that. And
right,
I did do a little bit of like Facebook Marketplace advertising, but it never really turned up anything. I think I got one decent customer out of it. All the rest are like, hey, can you weld floor pans in my El Camino?
no,
Like, and that was, yeah, auto body work is where I drew the line. I was like, I will
yep,
not do that type
same,
of work. Yeah, I won't do it. But at the time, I literally did anything. I mean, you need like a hole patch in your crappy rusted out dumpster. Sure, like it didn't
uh-huh.
matter to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And
Um,
what was your setup like? Truck, equipment, shop? Like, where were you at
so
there?
So at the time, I mean, I had the shop that I'm in right now is a 30 by 40. When I had gotten out of the military, I immediately, because I was double dipping, I was like, I need to put a shop. I need to put a shop on my property. So I put a shop up. And I still have it, a 2003 Ram 3500 that had, at the time, was a Bobcat 250 and all kinds of tools and lots of stuff.
Utility bed or service
It was a
bed or flatbed?
flatbed,
Okay,
flatbed, and then
cool.
heavily modified flatbed.
Sure.
Um, but
So it
yeah,
worked.
yeah,
It
worked
worked.
great.
Yeah.
Still, and I mean, still worked great.
hmm So
I
I'm
was
just kind of belaboring a point though, like for a second. So you started this. You're working at Peterbilt. You're doing side work, which is actually becoming like a serious amount of work. You quit,
correct.
and you're going out on your own. You didn't have uh, a formal, let's say, business education or business plan, particularly.
No,
You had, I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to
yep,
do everything that I can.
yeah,
You didn't seem like you didn't have a medium duty service truck with a crane or any of that stuff.
nope,
You had a Bobcat, which is
yeah,
a 250 225
yeah,
engine drive. It's not a cool welder. It's not a Vantage 500. It's not a Pipe
nope,
Pro 350 or 400. You had your tools that you had previously purchased that you owned, but you were, I mean, for lack of a better word, you were making it work.
yeah,
You
yep,
didn't have all the bells and whistles to just say, look at my fully wrapped Peterbilt service truck.
right,
Or,
yeah,
okay. So I just
yeah.
want to
I mean,
like let people know that's a thing you can do.
yeah, I don't want to say that I wasn't well equipped,
hmm
especially as like a part time
hmm
dude. I mean, at the time, I had a 4x8 plasma table.
Oh,
I
there you go.
that was one of I actually bought that, and I think while I was in the military in, I think, 2017 or 2018,
Okay.
and I literally just used it. I bought it because I wanted to learn and I wanted to make like stupid signs and stuff for
Sure.
whatever. and
Anything.
that's all I bought it for. Yeah, for
Yeah.
whatever. And I mean, I kept that table for years until I upgraded it last year.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I had a plasma table. I had a small like that the bandsaw that everyone starts with, like the 7x12 Jet or
Uh-huh.
Harbor Freight
Yep.
bandsaw.
Yep.
Everyone starts on that. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I had enough to basically to do a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. But you did not
Again,
have all the all
no, I didn't have everything. I didn't have a crane. I did not have a crane, surprisingly. Um,
that's a
yeah,
miracle.
I know. Yeah, it wasn't short. It wasn't long
That's
after
why you
that
weren't
I bought one.
succeeding.
Yeah, yep. Um, so they,
Sounds like doing
yeah,
very well in my estimation. It sounds like you were like the working hard, perfect. Like that's
right,
you're the taking on whatever comes down the road. That's good. That's like a good way. You were committed. Like it's like
yeah,
even from before you were, even before it was an LLC. It seems like you're just like accumulating things that are going to help you
yeah,
in the future. Like
yeah,
that's a commitment that you made. Maybe not even without noticing it, but you did it. Like
yeah,
you know, you're going out on a road job for a company because it needs to be done. Like that kind of mindset is a huge determining
right,
factor on how you're going to do when you actually go out on your own. A lot of people go out on their own because they hate their boss, right?
yeah,
And they're like, I can do it better or I can make more money. But they were
yeah,
terrible employees. And that, I'm not saying it's always true, but if you were basically unemployable, you're not starting with a good recipe for
no,
making
no,
even a living.
not at
Um,
all.
if your previous employers wouldn't hire you back or recommend that you do something that they don't, that's not a good space to be in if you're trying to start
Yeah,
your business. But you are now like you're doing work for your former employee after you
right,
told them I'm quitting.
yeah,
That's like, dude, that's amazing.
yeah,
That's a huge step up. I know it doesn't matter if you don't have the right equipment. You had enough. You were
yeah,
making it work, and it was the bigger determining factor wasn't what you had as far as physical things. It was who you were and the relationships that you were able to
yeah,
develop. Like that's the big thing. Like how do I get customers? uh get them. Like
yeah,
I don't know how to answer that question.
no,
Did you know how to
yeah,
answer that question? But
no,
uh you had customers that were coming to you that
yeah,
you didn't advertise. You didn't spend an inordinate amount. You didn't get a billboard. You
no,
did the work, it seems like, and
yeah,
then you you said, I don't know, I'll
yeah,
try, I'll get it till it's done. you know
yeah.
what were some of the struggles at that time? Like, so you're done with Peterbilt, now you're out on your own. What were some of the tough struggles that were going on in the business at that point?
Um, in the business aspect of it was really, I mean, it was just getting work in.
Mm,
Getting work was the struggle. That was like the biggest struggle of for the first couple years. Um, I was I was able to make enough money to support myself. My wife works,
mhm.
so basically, the goal was to be able to pay XYZ bills. My wife can kind of support herself to an extent. She has her own health care. I get health care through the VA.
There you go.
So healthcare was huge. And then her like paychecks were able to support like the internet and stuff like that. And so it was definitely a struggle. I mean, and it's still a struggle. You own your own business. It's a struggle.
Yeah,
Um,
you make money out of thin
right,
air
right,
with your
exactly.
sweat.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so yeah, so the first couple years were difficult. That was really the biggest struggle, and then weeding out bad customers.
Mm,
That was huge.
mm,
I constantly had crappy customers. They were just always, they would want everything done yesterday. They
mhm.
would take forever to pay. They just, typical nightmare customer. They complained about everything. If I couldn't get there at 3 in the morning tomorrow, then I don't know when I can get to it. I don't know when they'll be able to allow me to get to it. Meanwhile, they owe me $10,000 in unpaid invoices, and it's like, dude, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want
Yeah.
me to do? Like, um, and you still have customers like that here and there.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, and you get comfortable to where you can get into the position where you can fire them. Firing a customer was hard. Saying no is a huge is and still is was and still is a huge struggle for me. I
Mm.
constantly tell myself, yeah, well, I can get to it. I can get to it this week. I get to it this week, and I'm like, oh shit,
I
like
cannot, in
I don't
fact,
I
get
don't know
to it this
I don't
week.
know if I can get to it this week. Yeah, so
But I
like
said yes, so
yeah, but
gonna get to it this week.
so I have to get to it this week, whether that
Yeah.
means work until 2 in the morning to get job A done, so I can get to the job that I said that I would get done to
Mhm.
get done.
Yeah.
Um,
So when you start your own business, you have tons of freedom, huh?
yeah,
You get all your
yeah,
time
something
back.
like that.
You have no boss like
You
beating you
have
up.
you have a lot of free time, which is a bad thing. You are constantly under stress,
Mhm.
absolute constant. There is being your own boss is not easy. You constantly have to yell at yourself and discipline yourself because you can get lazy. You can get complacent. Complacency will kill you or your business.
Mhm.
And
Technically the
it's
same thing, just throwing it out there.
yeah,
You
that's
are
true.
your business at this
Yeah,
point. Like,
yeah,
and any problem you have in it is unfortunately like any success you have in any problems you have is just a reflection of you. And that's a
yeah,
tough pill to swallow for a lot of guys. Like, man, I can't seem to get good customers. Well,
yeah.
you're the only one getting them. No one's
Right,
giving them to you. You're
right.
attracting by what you say, do, and
Yep,
perform. You're attracting a customer that you don't want. So you have to
yeah.
fix that. Like, so how do you like? So you, I'm assuming on some level, you said you fired some customers, whatever. How did you solve some of those problems, or how are you continually trying to solve some of those problems?
Yeah, so I started to get more business. I don't really do I still don't. I never really did any advertising.
Yeah.
One thing I did do when I had downtime because I didn't have any work going on, I had scraps of aluminum and I cut out some business card holders on the plasma table and I welded them to some 1x2 1/8 inch rectangle tubing. And I just did a really nice aluminum TIG weld on the face of it, and it has Haas Fab cut out on the top. And I went to all my welding supply companies and I was like, hey, do you mind if I drop some of these off with some business cards? And I had a pretty good relationship with most of my suppliers. So they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. My steel supplier, I did the same thing. Um, that generated a decent bit of business. And then honestly, most of my business, probably 80% of my business is generated through word of mouth.
Hmm.
And it really just became, I got those 5 to 10 customers who just love me and they were able to spread the word that I do a good job. And honestly, and which we'll probably end up getting more into it, but returning phone calls, huge, is huge. It's like
Yes.
you would never think, but returning phone calls, returning emails in a timely fashion, just sending like most customers aren't assholes, but they just want an update. So like
Yes.
for instance, like I didn't have power for 4 days. I lost
Hmm.
power in on this past Friday from Helene, from
Hmm.
Hurricane Helene, and I only regained power a couple days ago. But I still was able to text my customers who are expecting work done this week, and I'm like, hey man, I can't do this work because I literally don't have power to the shop, and I need to run a lot of power, like so, which is something where a generator can't
Yeah.
like can't stand,
It won't keep
can't cover it. Yeah, it won't keep up. So I was just like, and most of them they're like, okay, cool, no worries, do your thing, man. Let us know when you get it done.
be
Cool.
safe.
And that's all. That's all they want. That's all most customers. That's all they want. They just want to be kept in the loop. They just want you to return their phone calls. They want you to return their emails. They want when you say you're going to be here at 7 in the morning, Monday morning, or whatever the case was, you're there at 7 in the morning. You're not. You do not make excuses.
Hmm.
You can never. If you make excuses, that's like people know when you're lying.
Yes.
People know when you're lying. Like
Hmm.
it's there's no for the most part, you have to be a damn good liar for someone to not believe you, for someone to believe you. But
Yeah.
like, I never make excuses. I've told people like, hey, I screwed this up and I need to remake it. It's not costing you anything, but I need to remake it. And I'm sorry, but
It's
you're
going to
gonna have,
take X amount of time.
yeah, you'll have it next week
Yep.
or whatever the case was. It just, I mean, being honest and having good communication skills is huge. If you tell your customer, your new customer, potentially new customer, hey, I'll send you an estimate later tomorrow. Send them an estimate later
Later
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes.
or in the morning,
Yeah.
or that night.
Yeah. So you
Over.
then have to remember, or sorry, then you then have to, like, the way that that works in practice for anybody listening who's like wanting to go into business or is having a problem with that is if you say consistently on a text, sorry, I was busy, or sorry, if you say
Yep.
consistently, I meant to get this to you yesterday, you need to stop saying, I'll get it to you tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. Give yourself space.
Yep.
You're the business. So
Yep.
say, I will get you a quote or an invoice in the net by Wednesday, in three
Yeah.
days. Just tell them what you
Yeah.
actually can do, as
A
opposed
hundred
to
percent.
saying, I'll do it tomorrow. Just say,
Yep.
I'll get it to you by Friday. And I don't care what
Yeah.
day of the week it is. Just, I'll get it to you on Friday. And
Yeah.
that gives you that space, because every single day something is going to come up. Your dog's going to get sick. Your
Yep.
tire's going to go flat. Your plasma cutter's going to run out. You forgot this. You didn't do that. You got
Yeah.
3 more phone calls in the meantime. Another strategy that can work oftentimes, and my brother-in-law uh, does this, he makes it a point, and this sounds crazy. He works Monday to Thursday on actual operations of doing the
Yeah.
work. Friday, he always sets aside. Now, does he always accomplish this? Maybe not. But he says Friday is bids, quotes, phone calls, site visits, planning. It's just,
Yeah.
he gives that space. So what happens? You get a busy week, he can spill into Friday morning. He might actually work all day Friday, but
Yeah.
every week he's trying to preserve that time. And he
Yeah.
tells his customers, hey, or his potential customers, they're like, hey, can you get out, give me a quote on my roof? He's like, yes, on Friday.
Yep.
Well, I need it today. Okay, on Friday, I'll be there. And that
Yeah.
gives him that
Yeah.
space.
As long
So
as today is Friday.
yeah, okay, cool. So a lot of us, because we're problem solvers, because like we're sort of kind of messed up in here, like
Yeah. Big
we
time.
want to solve and we feel bad for not, and we're actually, a lot of us are just good dudes who don't want to see people struggle, and we want to help.
Right.
When someone asks us with a sense of urgency, can you, we automatically say yes. And again, a strategy we can use is to, number one, give ourselves that space, say 3 days. It's maybe to set aside an actual day to do that kind of work. And the third thing
Yeah.
in the moment is take a breath, take,
Yep.
like, pause, just say, hold on. Maybe even use an excuse, say, let me look at my calendar, and then look
Yep.
at your phone and move and give yourself 30 seconds. Just don't respond instantly,
A
because
hundred percent.
we are going to just say what we know we need to say. And a lot of us have been living in survival mode. We've been starving to death, and every time the phone calls, it's maybe food. And we're like, yes, I
Yeah.
can do it. Yes, I can do it. You have to stop. And that is going to solve so many problems. And
Yeah.
it'll actually, it might seem weird, but you're going to get more work by
Yeah.
slowing down.
It's
Um,
huge. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I mean, like this, I used to do like, I mean, obviously, the slower you are, the more you're able to get on top of stuff.
mhm.
But like, yeah, I'll send you an estimate later today. Cool. All right. Yeah, awesome. You get an estimate. But these last 2 years have just been so busy, and I've gotten to the point where I tell people, like most of my customers know, but if they need an estimate, be like, hey, I'm super busy this week. Give me a few days. If for whatever reason you don't hear from me, please reach out to me.
Right.
Again, honesty. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is without flaw. So
Hmm.
people forget. It's hard to schedule our line of work.
Hmm.
Like, you can't have a calendar be like, oh, so it cannot be written in stone of what
Hmm.
we do.
Yeah,
So
everything depends on
remember
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything is just it's difficult. It's difficult to remember those things. So I've gotten to the point where I tell people that I'm like, hey, give me a few days. I am slammed this week. Give me a few days. If you don't hear from me, reach out to me, please. Just shoot me a text message and I'll get on it.
So
And
let me ask you
again,
this. Let me ask you this. How long for you, and this is just maybe something for you to think about. How long can you say I'm slammed this week until you either have to raise your rates to get slower or get someone to help you? Like, how do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Perfect answer.
I
That's what I
Yeah, I
want to
don't know.
hear.
I don't know how
That's
to think
thinking
because
through.
I'm kind of starting to crest that area. Um, I am far too anal to hire someone.
Mm,
If I do hire someone, they will be like we will be Siamese twins, and
mm,
they're going to be attached to me at the hip, and I'm very anal with I'm very particular how I do things, so it'll be very difficult to hire the right person. Um,
mm,
but then on the flip side, I have a lot of good customers and they feed me a lot of work. So is it something where I don't necessarily want to lose those customers if I raise my rates? So I'm kind of it's a balancing act right now that I'm trying to
mm.
still figure out because I really don't have the answer to that question.
Yeah. No, that's. I just want to put that bug in your ear because that's something that,
Yeah,
like, my partner and I are constantly
yeah,
thinking through, and whatever, and something that we're wrestling with at the moment, in real time. Like today, we drove around for 6 hours together, and this is mostly what we talked about.
right,
Is our standard exists? Is it fair to hold somebody to that same standard? And
right,
what systems can we put in place in our business so that it's fair to an employee that they but our work gets done? So, like, I don't
right,
want to lower my standard, but how can I either
right.
support or systemize a process or the way we do business? How can I educate my customers so that I don't have to have an employee to be held to my standard, but they can then grow in this role or whatever. Like, how are we going to do that? And again, it's I
Yeah,
don't think there's a right answer, and we're in a trade, so you can't go read a business book that
no,
talks about how you do it in a software company, and
yeah, or a
nobody's writing.
manufacturing
Yeah,
facility,
yeah, but
or
this isn't a manufacturing facility. You can't
yeah,
lean out a service truck and expect
no,
somebody. You can put tools where they belong, but when you get out there to change that hydraulic line or
yeah,
weld on that thing, there's no way to systemize it to the point where the person doesn't have to think anymore. But
100%.
again, like, that's something that we all have to think through, and as far as like raising your rates to lose customers, um, knowing why your rates are what they are is a
Right.
lost art. Most people, and I'm not saying you, but most people don't
Yeah,
actually know why they charge what they charge, so they can't justify or educate their client.
yeah,
It's just a transaction. They can't um, communicate to their client what their rate is and why it is that way and why today it needs to be different.
yeah,
And they struggle with that. They think, oh, they're gonna because they aren't gonna understand it, and they're going to find someone cheaper. But if you can
yeah,
say, like, these are my costs, you don't have to tell them what they are, but like, my costs are increasing by 20% over the board, and I've noticed that over the last 6 months, and so
yeah,
I'm gonna increase my cost or my price to you, or saying I only have limited amount of time, and if you want this quality of work, it comes at a premium. This is why it
yeah,
comes at a premium. Another thing that a lot of guys don't do is regularly raise their rates.
yeah,
We set a standard that says I charge $80 an hour, and then 4 years later you're like, I need to charge 125. Um, really highly successful companies, I've noticed, they send out an email and say, hey, listen, all my clients, it's January 3rd, our rates are going up 4%.
yeah,
And they do it. And so all their clients just expect that. They set a standard before they need to raise a rate. And that way
yeah,
it's never like, oh, I need to, like, Lincoln raises the rates on our welding rod every 3 months. And
right.
what do? We buy Lincoln.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A Miller Dynasty TIG welder is like 14 grand now.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just
They just did
figured
their
out.
rate raise. They just increased by like 15-20%.
And so what I found is that um, contractors, especially contractors like what I do and a lot of us do, carpenters, whatever, we we wait for the company to pay us
Yeah.
instead of saying this is what I'm doing or what I'm getting or what I'm charging and this is why. Um, it's a very like upside down world that we've created for ourselves, and it's hard to.
Yeah.
You almost have to train your clients to expect certain things from you. You train them to expect you to always be there no matter what.
Right.
But now we need to train them to expect to pay us in a specific way, which
Yeah.
it may slow some work down, but good. It
Yeah.
allows you, you're going to be compensated better for it. So I don't know. Hopefully that helps a little bit for you. I'm not trying to solve your
Yeah.
problem. Just think about it
Yeah. I
with you.
mean, I'm in like a position where it's funny because like I talked to like some of the other guys through our community in like social media and stuff,
Hmm.
and a lot of guys just charge by the hour,
Hmm.
which I kind of do the same thing, but 95% of my work is all quoted work.
Oh,
So
okay.
so it's it's nice in the aspect that if I'm charging X, like I charge $100 an hour,
Right.
and if I'm charging $100 an hour or $150 an hour, I'm still making 3 grand off a quoted job. So
Right.
it's nice in that retrospect where it allows someone to not. I guess not. I don't want to act like I'm fooling someone,
Right.
but when someone asks what my rate is and I tell them, it's not like a, oh, that's a lot of money.
Right.
Like it's a, okay, hey, can you come out and look at this? Yeah, I can look at it and I can give you a quote. Okay, cool. I'll quote it. All right, it's going to be $2,000, whatever. All right, cool, let's do it.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm making a lot of money off that,
Right.
and they're really happy because it's a fair price,
Yes.
and I'm making way more than $100 an
Right.
hour.
Right.
And so my hourly rate varies
Yeah.
significantly. I
It
mean,
almost
I've
doesn't
got
even matter. It's just on
right,
paper too.
exactly. It's purely just a paper thing to kind of
Mhm.
like
Because people ask all the
to
time.
provide, yeah, to provide an answer to somebody. That's really all it is.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
I've
do.
done.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
I mean, I've gotten to the point. There's jobs where I've done, and I've made $80 an hour. I'm like, man, I need to charge more. And then there's jobs where I've done where I've made like $450 an hour,
Correct.
and it's
Yeah.
like
Thank
awesome.
you.
Like this,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a great job. This is an amazing job, and it took me no time, and I charged a lot of money for this, and great.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it,
the hourly, like we do a lot of time and material work in our
yeah,
world because it's unless the company that we work for is going to spend a huge amount of time
right.
pre-planning and
Yeah, and
engineering.
it's your line of work is very dynamic.
Yeah, and you just can't. And like, cool, you I could say it's going to take me this long to do it, but if the weather changes
Right.
or the concrete doesn't show up, I'm still going to be here, and I'm going to be bridge forming. Like, I'll
Yeah.
form up your concrete for you. So like,
Right.
so I get that, but like, as far as the it's not a quotes versus time, but when you do quote work, when you can organize that in such a way, you're going to continually get more reward for getting better at your job. And the
Absolutely.
client is going to, as long as that number, that bottom line number on that paper is acceptable to your client, then
Yeah.
you can increase your efficiency. You can increase, like,
Yeah.
they don't need to know that you're subbing. I don't want to say need to know like we're being dishonest, but you
No.
can
Yeah. I
sub
get it.
out
Yeah.
a part of that job to a laser shop,
Yeah.
and we agreed to this quote. Somebody asked me how much what was a reasonable price for a base plate, and they were charging $200 for a base plate, and I'm like, bro, I got it quoted from my steel yard a base plate twice that size for they're gonna pay me 50, or I'd have to pay $50 for that base plate,
Right.
and I'm like, I don't even cut it on my table anymore, can I? All day
Yeah.
long, I could have base plates for days. But if I
Yeah.
could pay $50 for a base plate and I charge my customer 85 or 100 or 125, they're
Yeah.
very happy.
Yeah.
I am like, what are like
Yeah.
this is business, right?
Right.
And so yeah, being able to do it by quote is a way to continually reward yourself
Yeah.
for getting better. Where time and material, generally speaking, it doesn't reward the contractor in the same way. You
Right.
can get into the habit of rewarding yourself by dragging your feet.
Yeah.
Um, and again, as long as the client understands that and is happy
Yeah.
with that, that's fine.
Right.
The real trick is to be able to like do time and material, still make tons of money, but go fast. And
Yeah.
so that means you just have to constantly have work, 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 work,
Right.
work. And so it's all fun to me. I love it all. Like quotes
Yeah.
are oftentimes time and material estimates, and you're just hoping to get under it.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I tell.
Which
Like,
is
there's
awesome.
customers. Yeah. There's customers who I've done like this last year. I quoted two really like anywhere from like. Actually, I've quoted a couple of them, but some huge jobs. I think we talked about it on the phone
The
once
Sugar
before.
Shack.
Sugar Shack, yeah. Um, and then I just recently quoted another job, which was over $1 million,
Hmm.
and it would span over the course of 2025.
Hmm.
And
That's a
how do you
scary quote to send out.
how do you quote that job? Yeah, exactly. How do you quote that? And so yeah. I was
Sweating,
sweating.
you're like, yes, go for it. Please
Yeah,
don't take it. Yes, take it. Please don't take it.
yeah,
Like, I
right.
hope
Yeah,
nothing
exactly,
changes from now until it's ready. Oh my
exactly.
gosh, that's
So
scary stuff,
you're
dude.
and that's where having a really good network. Like I
Hmm.
was able to communicate. I don't know if you communicate with Dave Main Made. He's in Jacksonville, Florida.
I think I've seen his stuff, but no, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say
Um, I was able to like talk with him. I was actually on a job with him doing some spider crane work for
no.
him in St. Augustine a few
Hmm.
weeks back, and I was
Sweet.
like, dude, I'm quoting this job. I was like, I know you've done this before, done work similar to this before. What do you think I should be at? Because like, how do you quote it? How do you quote that job? You can't every penny, every cent, every second of every day of
Mhm.
work that you're going to have. There's no way. You just can't.
Yeah,
So
it's
you have
impossible.
to, yeah, you just have to kind of ballpark it for the most part. Um, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to quote stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's jobs where I've quoted, I don't know, $20,000, and I tell a customer, be like, hey, this is what I think it's going to cost. I've never done this job. I know I can do this job, but I've just never done this work before. It might be a little more, it might be a little less, but I'm figuring this is what it's going to be. And then they're like, okay, cool. Like, let's
Cool.
do it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's all they want to hear. They just want to know like a rough idea of what it's going to cost. So I am kind of time and material, but I'm also not. They have an
Yeah.
idea of what it's going to cost. Now,
Hmm.
if I quote a job for $5,000 and I think it's I don't know, $2,000 in material and 30 hours of labor, and I'm 34 hours of an hour, 34 hours into it. I don't charge the customer that.
Right.
I eat that labor. Like it is what
Yep.
it is. I'm still happy with, but I'm able to do that because I'm just a one man show.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm at the scale that I'm at. I'm able to do that. I'm able to eat a little bit of labor because it's not going to
Hmm.
bother me. It is what it is. And if you have a good relationship with your customer, whatever, or you'll get it on the back end on the next job.
Yeah.
Like
On the
it's
next job. Yeah. I'm not
yeah,
here to
just
make a million bucks today. I'm here to do
exactly.
a good job and keep this relationship.
Exactly.
So.
And I mean, and I've had, I've had customers, even new customers, like reach out to me and like go with me just because of that, just because I'm just like upfront, honest, and
Mhm.
communicate with them.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Like, I mean, we just talked
Yep.
about it, but like,
It's
I
the
can't
biggest
stress that
part.
enough to people.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys who reached out on the Facebook small business group, and there's two guys who are local to me, and like that's what I tell them. Like, dude, there's so much work here to be had, and it's not going to offend me like you going out and doing your own thing. It's
Mhm.
not going to offend me at all.
Yeah.
Just return phone calls. That's literally all I tell
Perfect.
people, and that's most of my customers. Like new customers are like, we're just like we're not going with you. We actually ended up not needing this work, but we really appreciate you calling. Like
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're good, man.
Check that out real quick. I was like, oh boy. Anyway, yeah. So sorry to interrupt you, but yep.
You're good.
Be honest. Return your phone calls.
It's huge.
Do your best. Be upfront with people. They seem like really simple things, but they are in fact um, the
Difficult for a
no
lot of people.
nonsense secrets to being successful in just about any trade. And honestly,
Yeah.
whether you go if you're going to be a lawyer, this is what it takes to be a lawyer. Like
Yeah.
this is what it takes to be a successful lawyer. You could be a scummy pile of garbage and make a living, but if
Yep.
you want to actually develop lifetime clients, people that are going to stick with you when the chips are down and when things are tough, because no matter what happens in this world, like everything is in cycles. And I've
Yep.
lived through booms, I've worked through busts, I've done, I haven't done everything, but I've done a lot of different things, a lot of different trades. I've worked for myself, I've worked for other people, I've subbed, I mean, done a ton of stuff. And I've noticed that the people who make it through the ups and the downs are the ones who are honest, the ones who have integrity.
Yep.
It's not the ones who are actually the best at their job, even. Like, they're
Yeah.
not the golden arms of the world. They're not the most talented people. Like, the people you want to stick around with, those are the ones who make it. The ones who will tell you up front, this may be out of my scope or out of
Yeah.
my skill level, but I'm
Yeah.
good. If it's okay with you, I'm going to give it my best, and I'm going to charge you accordingly. It's going to be fair. I'm going to communicate clearly
Yeah.
with you and concisely with you. I'm not going to give you the runaround. Um, I worked for a fellow one time, and he was a super good dude. Taught me a lot of lessons about life and business, and he did not know a thing about construction, not a thing. And he owned a pretty good sized restoration company that did a bunch of construction. Um, and I said, well, how did you do this? He's like, he got burned by a contractor in a building project. And he said, I don't ever want anyone to feel like that. So I'm going
Yeah.
to hire the people who are never going to do that to another person, and I'll learn the rest. He's like, or
Yeah.
I can teach a guy who knows how to treat people. I can teach him how to rebuild a wall or frame a wall or demo a kitchen. I can teach that,
Yeah.
but I can't teach you how to have good character. And man, when
No.
the chips are down in this world, that's who's going to get out on the other side. When
100%.
everything comes crumbling down, when there's another great recession or another whatever, the people who are going to come out on the other side of it, that's who it's going to be. It's not going
Yeah.
to be the biggest. It's not going to be the smallest. It's not going to be the most well equipped. I mean, if you think about it, technology isn't the main determining factor of success anymore. Equipment, trucks, paint, none of that. Maybe 30 years ago, like if somebody said, I need a laser and you had it, you'd get the job. But
Right.
now, who cares if you have a laser? I'll
Yeah.
call somebody and get it done.
Yeah.
It's not. It's character. Character is the main determinator. Or
Customer service.
yeah, which that's part of that's character.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
being good at customer service means you have honesty, means
Yep.
you have integrity, means you take responsibility for
Yeah.
mistakes and you give credit for success. You say, oh yeah, it was a team effort, or the guys did a great job, or oh, thanks for helping get all these tools organized. That's one of the reasons
Yeah.
why we're able to get this job on time. Thanks for getting that telehandler out to this job on time. Thanks, contractor I'm working for. Like those are all like, if you
Yeah.
didn't drive that truck to my shop, it would have taken me an extra day to get this job done. So, attaboy, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Boom, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, that's a beautiful customer service. They love working with you. And
Yeah.
again, when times are tough and the money's tight, those are the things that are going to determine success,
Yeah.
or at least survival.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Because it might come to just survival. It's not
Yeah.
always going to be as good as it has been for some time now. So um, bad times might come, and hopefully they don't. Hopefully we're in
Yeah.
trades
We'll
that are
see.
sort of recession proof.
Yeah.
That hey, doesn't matter. Trucks are going to need to get fixed. It just
Yep.
might be a little slow. Um,
Got to be able to pivot.
yeah, flexibility, huge.
Yep.
All right, let me ask you 5 questions. I got 5 questions to ask
All
you.
right.
They're rapid fire questions. They're not. You don't have to think
Oh
too much
shit.
about them. Um, you really don't, but they're just good ones that I like to ask. Um, what is one tool that you cannot live without?
Ooh. Cranes are pretty nice.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, like take the
I'm
rest
looking
of
at one right now.
it. So cranes, got it. All right.
Yeah, I mean they've been a game changer, man. They're a game changer for people. I mean, especially a
Mm-hmm.
one man shows. They're game changers. They are your employee.
Yep. Yeah, and they never call in sick unless they blow a
Yep.
hydraulic line.
I was gonna say unless they
Um,
break, but yeah,
yeah. And thanks for helping me with my crane on my
yeah,
truck
yeah,
a few
yeah.
months ago. I appreciate it. Thing runs great.
Good.
I don't want to put it out there in the world, but I do appreciate you
Yeah, man.
helping me with that. Some good information, good networking, getting
Yeah,
hold of
exactly.
other people that can really help.
Networking is huge.
Biggest
There's
thing
enough.
ever.
There's enough work for everybody.
There
So
is. That's a
don't.
huge component.
Yeah, don't make enemies out of people, especially local people.
Mm-hmm.
I get work from other welders. I have two really good friends who are here local,
Mm-hmm.
and they feed me work and I feed them work.
Yep.
And I mean,
There's a business concept. It's like the stages of business, and
yeah,
at the beginning, it's like, oh, it's me against the world. Everybody's out, and by the end of the stages of business, there is no such thing as competition.
no,
I just do
there's not.
what I need to do,
Yep,
and if you need a hand I can help with, I'll help, and if not, that's okay. But there's no
yep,
competition because no one can do what I'm doing the way I'm
yep,
doing it. So that's an
exactly.
awesome place to get to. Number two, what is your "Where have you been all my life" tool? And it can't be a crane because you already said it.
Oh shit.
You blew it first go.
Probably. I'd probably say hyperstep drill bits. I don't know if you know what those are.
Hyperstep. Talk to
Yeah,
me
yeah.
about them. Describe them or show them. What do you got?
They are.
Are
I'm
they
looking at them right
those
now.
impact rated? Oh no! What is this thing? Come on, tell me what this is.
So it is a drill bit that the tip is a step bit.
Okay.
They
Okay.
so originally I don't remember who actually came up with the idea, but Matco used to have the contract for these. Like this is the only place you can get them, and they were like $300
Like the
for
tool
what
truck,
like
Matco.
yeah Matco
Oh, okay,
yeah
cool.
Matco tools.
Yeah. I'm not a mechanic,
Um,
so I.
no, you're yeah. I guess I should have said that.
No, no.
Yeah, tool truck. It was like $300 for like an eighth, like a standard set, like eighth inch to half inch or
Yeah.
whatever the
Okay.
normal standard set is.
Yeah.
Um, but they came with a lifetime warranty, so I bought them. And if I broke one, I would go on the truck and I'd swap them out. But since then, their contract has, I guess, expired or been voided or whatever the case is. So now there's a lot of companies that are making these.
Interesting.
And I think you can get a eighth to half inch kit for like 120 to 150 bucks on Amazon.
Wow.
And unfortunately, they are not sharpenable. But
Yeah, I was
your
just looking at that.
your bigger bits they last a while. Like I have two sets that I've had in my shop for 2 years, and they're pretty good. You
Really?
do burn
Okay.
up, yeah, like quarter inch and below, you burn up pretty quick.
Sure.
But I mean,
I think that's standard
can-
on any drill bit, unless
you can
you're
just get tradition. Yeah, exactly. You can get traditional regular drill bits like jobber, like was it 142 degree bits or whatever it is.
I like a jobber.
Just get regular those quarter inch below. But these are awesome. I mean, they eat material. They
Nice.
eat material so fast. But
Nice.
this is probably a pretty commonly used and definitely something. When I first saw it, I was like, "That's cool. That is really cool." And I tried them and I fell in love with them.
Nice. I like it. Okay, so on the flip side of that, question number 3: what's the most overrated tool, gear, or equipment that's out there in this world? Something that people love, but is not worth the packaging it was sent
Ooh.
in. Overrated tool, or equipment, or gear.
I don't know.
Yeah, this
I
is
really,
a hard one for gearheads. So
yeah. I mean, I have some ideas, but I also don't want to name drop.
no,
So,
that's fine.
yeah,
Just to maybe give a
yes.
roundabout answer to that, like something that
There's
just
certain
like, makes sense.
certain aspects of welder clothing, I think, is a total
Mhm.
gimmick.
Okay.
I think the that clothing that you pay a lot of money for, I don't think is going to last any longer than like
Standard.
a pair of
Standard.
Carhartts or
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I would tend to agree with you, and I'm not going to name drop, but
yeah,
if there are for what we do, and as far as welders are concerned, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a plumber, I'm not
right.
an electrician. I'm a welder, and I work outside in the field. The truth
Yeah,
is, after 25 years, a pair of Carhartt pants are not going to last, and neither is a pair of $300 pants. And anything that's stretchy is going to be destroyed.
yep,
So take your pick. If you like a certain thing, buy it, have fun.
yeah,
But the jeans at Rural King for 15 bucks, they're
right.
going to
Yeah,
last a month or three. And the $80 jeans are they're going to last a month or three too,
yeah.
or whatever your interval of
I
time
buy
is.
I buy all my pants from usually Bass Pro Shop because we have one right here.
Oh,
But
sweet.
their brand of pants, the same thing. It's like $15 to $20 for a set of pants, and then it's like always constantly you can get them on sale. And I just
Yeah,
order them online. I know what sizes, and I order them in a quantity of 10,
yeah.
and then they burn up over the course of a year or two, and then you just order new
Or
ones.
a
I
couple
don't.
more.
Yeah,
But
I
you are
mean,
cool then.
yeah, that would, I mean, and then can you imagine how devastating that would be if you actually like burn a big hole through your $300 pants
Yeah.
because
No, I
you're
can't
not
imagine. I would never
yeah,
do it.
you're not just a like you're not just a welder, you're also a part-time mechanic, or like
Yeah.
you disconnect the hydraulic line and now you just took a hydraulic bath in your $300 pants. Like
Yeah. Yep.
there's
Yeah, I get you, man.
those gloves. Like I think a lot of people like I guess we're kind of getting a little off topic, but I
That's
feel like
fine.
a lot
That's
of people like cry about gloves and like quality of gloves,
fine. Mhm.
and like I really like the Mechanics brand gloves,
Yeah.
and they're not cheap. They're
No.
definitely not cheap.
38 to 45 bucks for the ones that my
Yeah,
partner, he
something like
loves
that.
them. Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
I go through maybe one pair at at, at minimum a year. Like
Really?
yeah, I mean,
Are
because
you very particular when you wear them?
yes, and that's kind of where I'm
There you
getting at. Like
go.
they're welding. There are gloves to do welding. So like if you're gonna go and run a grinder, don't wear those gloves. Or if
Hmm.
you're gonna go do something, if you're gonna do something like whatever it is, move steel around, move sharp sheet metal around,
Yeah.
don't wear those gloves. Like
If
I
you're
don't
going to
like
go
people.
pull a motor that's coated in gear
Right,
oil,
right, exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Like
don't wear those
don't
gloves.
$80 things to do that.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of where I see like unless you are, it's kind of and that kind of where it backtracks to those the pants or like the expensive clothing. Like if you are just a welder,
Hmm.
sure, like
Yeah.
they will probably last a very long time.
Or a
But
very
most
specific type of welder
yes, yeah,
that
yeah, exactly,
that
yeah.
yeah,
If you are
that's
just
a lot
doing
of
one specific,
ground structural things.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just I don't. That's where it doesn't make sense to me because a
Hmm.
lot of us are not just that. So there's a
Yeah, we're not
lot of
just
guys who
anything. Yeah,
yeah, who do everything. We do everything under the sun. Not everybody turns wrenches, but you still are fabricating, moving sheet, moving tube, whatever the case is, and just it doesn't make sense to me. That's
yeah,
what I think. That's probably the biggest overrated thing. I could probably find some other stuff too,
yeah.
but
No, that's a great. Me too. Me too. I have not answered this question out loud, so and anytime I have mentioned that,
is it
I don't.
is your answer different?
Um. Oh. I will 100% agree with that. That like overpriced. No, it's not overpriced.
Yeah,
These high end companies that are importing a certain style of Western clothing and market
yeah,
as welding gear.
right.
Like I will say that that is an overrated thing. But as far as like tools and equipment, I have a general philosophy that we ought to be able to do more with less. And I think
Yeah,
overcomplicated layout tools and overcomplicated clamping tools, things with multiple moving parts. As cool as they are, I just don't think they're worth the investment for most people. Now, like
Yeah.
a big one I'll go with that's easy and is a fixture table. Fixture tables
Yeah.
are absolutely awesome. They
Yeah.
are so great. I do not own a fixture table, and I've had a welding company since 2008.
Right.
Would I like one? Yeah, sure. But I
Yeah.
don't do anything that's repeatable.
Right.
I built a flat table out of a scrap piece of 5/8 plate with scrap 6-inch square tube legs.
Yeah.
And if I want a fixture, I build a jig and weld it to my table, then snap it off and grind it flat.
Right.
I am not building
Yeah.
aerospace parts. So
Yeah.
for the people that need that kind of repeatability and accuracy, more power to them. But if you are
Yeah.
starting a shop, you do not need the highest level of tool to
No.
do the job that you're doing. The
Yeah.
truth is, I've built ginormous, highly accurate things on my concrete floor.
Yep.
My knees hurt, but the checks
Yeah.
clear. So I'm a bit of a contrary sort of person where I don't think the latest greatest invention is really what you need. Will it save you
Right.
some time? Maybe, maybe not. But you ought to know how to do it the old way or the
Yes.
hard way first, and then add that in. Add in a
Yeah.
fixture. Well, man, now you have these like your eyes are like, whoa, it's a whole new world. But if you can't build
Yeah.
it on the floor, you're not going to be able to build it on that fixture table. Sorry. It's
Yeah.
just not going to work. So there's
No.
that's
Yeah.
my overrated
I agree with
conclusion.
that. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of fancy stuff. I mean, like
Sure,
I
so
have a
do
lot.
I. I got
Yeah.
tons of
I have
fancy stuff.
yeah. But I 100% agree where, especially if you're starting a business, you do not need this fancy fixture table with all these clamps and all the tooling associated with it to
Hmm.
be able to accomplish a job. It's going to take you longer to do whatever your job you're trying to do. Like
Hmm.
building a handrail on a piece of half-inch plate, a 4x8 piece of half-inch plate, is not fun because that plate is not flat.
Hmm.
So there's going to be variance. So
Hmm.
building it on a fixture table is way nicer. But
Hmm.
yeah, I agree. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
I have a lot of fancy stuff, but
yeah,
you definitely have to learn how to do stuff
yeah. I have
the
custom built
rudimentary
CNC
way.
tables that are
Right.
awesome. Like, yeah, they're great. I love them. But
Right.
there's almost nothing that I need that CNC table for. Like, I
Yeah.
can't.
Your mic just went out for some reason.
Oh, still
Yeah, it just went out real quick. It's good now.
back. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
No,
So
you're good.
again, I mean, yeah, you ought to know the basics before you get the big fancy stuff. And that's again, that's my rant on
Yeah.
overrated tools. So
Yeah.
something a little simpler. Question number 4: what's your go-to job site jams? Like it's in your earbuds,
Jams.
you're ready to roll. Music,
Ooh.
podcast, book, what?
Probably like early 2000s, like Blink 182 or like alternative punk rock. That's pretty much
Yeah, there you go.
that's the go to almost all the time.
Yeah, perfect, perfect.
Creed, baby.
No, yes, no, yeah,
Hell yeah, I like Creed.
yeah. Everybody likes it. Just it's kind of like a scooter. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
scooter. It's fun, but you don't want to be seen riding one. Just
Oh,
throwing
well,
it.
I'll listen to the shit out of Creed.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I'm a yeah, yeah. If it's on, I'm listening to it.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
job site jam personally.
There you go.
Uh, what's last question on the fast five? What's one thing that's an instant you're fired or a complete loss of respect on the job, like specifically work business related? Like what's a non-negotiable? You cross this line, it's over.
Oh, there's so many of those on me.
Pick a
Oh.
big one. Yeah.
uh, Huge thing to me is time management.
Hmm.
If you show up late without telling me, that's huge.
Mm.
Like I've had like whether it be like I hire a friend for a couple days to do some work, or if you're my customer, like I actually just dealt with that today.
Oh.
Um, I went and did a mulching job. I do forestry mulching as
Oh,
well.
right.
I went and did a mulching job. Guy was supposed to meet me at 8 o'clock on his property, and we can map out what he wants and where he wants it. He didn't show up till 10.
Oh my goodness.
So I
Not
started
called or
doing
anything.
what's that?
He didn't call or anything.
I called him at 8:30 and I said, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm on my way." And then it took him an hour, almost an hour and a half to get there.
That's a tough one.
So that is it's hard to be not acceptable when it's your customer and you're making money off them. But I also told him how I felt,
Hmm.
and that is like a huge not like I'm not okay with that. I've
We
I've
cannot make
fired
this a pattern.
I've fired a couple of customers because of that.
Yeah.
Because of literally they just told me, "Hey, I will be at your shop to pick up part X that you just completed at 9 a.m." and they don't show up until 11. I will literally be like, "Hey, get the stuff, cut my check, go," and I will never do work for them ever again. It's to me, it's a huge insult.
Hmm.
You're insulting me as if your time is more valuable than mine.
Hmm. Yep.
So that's a huge thing to me. That's
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
management is everything. If you call me and said, "Hey, I'm running behind," or whatever,
Got a
as long
flat.
as yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as you call me and say, "Hey, man, I'm not going to make it at 9 o'clock. I'll be there in a little bit." Okay,
Yeah.
cool, no worries, problem solved. But if you're not going to communicate with me, maybe I had to go somewhere.
Right.
Maybe I had somewhere to be at 11
Yeah. A
o'clock, and now
job.
I'm sitting here. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a huge non-negotiable for me. I get
Hmm.
I get on my customers about it, and I'm pretty. I will speak my mind.
Good.
There is nobody who is better than me, and I am not better than anybody else. So if you don't have the respect, if you don't give me respect, I will not give you respect.
Right. Right.
So
No,
it doesn't matter if you're paying me or not.
yeah, that's a great like non-negotiable to have, and that'll
Yeah.
actually serve you well when or if you wind up with employees like
Right.
long term. um, Setting that standard out from the front, like those are the kind of people that are going to reflect your values and
Right.
represent your business well if they understand that concept up front. And if that's a non-negotiable for you in dealing with customers or whoever else,
Yeah.
you can tell people that before you hire them, and they can
Yeah.
decide like this isn't a good fit for me, or set that standard where this matters so much that I don't care how important you think you are or how important this job is. I'll finish it myself rather than
Yep.
deal with this. And no,
Yep.
that'll serve you really well. I find that the answer to that question, like the non-negotiable, what's an instant you're fired kind of thing, that answer, it brings to the forefront like what is of utmost not importance like on a day to day, but like what in here really matters.
Right.
And that's a
Yeah.
respect. Like respect matters a
Yeah.
lot.
It's
And
huge.
I don't care if you're going to cut me a $50,000 check.
Doesn't matter.
If you
Yep.
are a disrespectful person, and that's the pattern of your life, it's not worth the money. It's not worth
Nope.
the headaches of doing this kind of job because
Yeah,
it's
it's not
hard
it's not
enough
worth the
already.
added stress. It's
Yeah.
not worth the added stress.
And if they
You're
can't
already
meet you on
stressing.
time at the job, what is going to happen when you send them a bill?
Yep.
What do you think's going to happen? They'll always have
Right.
an excuse, and you'll be over there 6 months in, like, can you please send me money? I'm going to cut. Oh, it's yeah, that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a really good one.
What is
Yeah.
yours?
No one's ever asked me that, but um, my main non-negotiable is very similar to yours. Um, if you're a no call, no show, you're done. I don't care
Yep.
what the situation is. I will do it all by myself forever. I've done it all by myself, and I'll do it all again. Um,
Yep.
if I lose this job, which I won't, if you don't show up,
Right.
I'll lose it. I don't care. Um,
Yeah.
I think if somebody no calls, no shows me, I'm you're done. You're just
Yeah.
absolutely done. You better not. You don't even come back to the shop. Your stuff will be outside. Um,
Yep.
so for me, that's it, and it all goes back to respect.
Yep.
And conversely, if I'm driving, if I hey, we're leaving at 6, and I'm on the road, and you didn't show up, and you call me at 7:15, and you're like, bro, I'm in my Cavalier, I'm on Route 80, I'm flying down the highway, I'll be there at 9. Cool, no problem.
Yeah.
I
No worries.
like
Yeah.
I don't even care why you're late.
Yeah.
But if you call, if you show that, like, bro, this matters.
Right. Yeah. That,
I'm
hey,
down.
Dylan or Daniel's gonna be pissed if I don't show up, or if I don't tell him that,
Mhm.
hey, I'm gonna be late. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that shows that you respect me enough to let me know what's going on, and that's all
And
that
you
matters to me.
respect yourself enough to,
Yeah.
like, I want to keep this thing going. I had
Yeah.
he wasn't a coworker. He was a guy. He was another contractor that was working with me. We worked a lot together. He's a great dude. And I'm at this job, and he wasn't there. No call, no show. And I'm like, this is. And I was getting pretty frustrated. But at the end of the day, he had been with me day in and day out in the worst kind of conditions in the oil field for
Right.
a year and a half. And I'm like, this is well out of his character.
Yeah.
This is not how he works. And later on in the day, it was probably 11, 12 o'clock, his boss called me and was like, he's in the hospital. He had
Yeah.
it was rough. Like, some
Yeah.
bad stuff happened. Like, he woke up
Yeah.
dead,
Yeah.
literally. And his girlfriend had the call, and it was all this stuff. He had called as soon as he came awake in the hospital.
Called
He
you.
had his no, not me, his boss,
Oh.
who then called me. But he called his boss, and he's like, "Hey, this is where I'm at, and as soon as I'm done, I'll drive straight there."
Right.
There was no problems. Nobody even
Yeah.
cared. Like,
No.
I'll work a couple 5 extra hours today to help you out. Like, and
Right.
seriously, 3 days later, he was back on a job. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you didn't have to come in. Your boss would have given you 2 weeks off. No problem. No
Right.
question asked. He's like, no, I
That's
had
fine.
to get here. So cool.
Yeah.
But no call, no show. See ya.
Yeah.
See ya. See you later, bud. Yeah. So that was like a little interlude. We're getting through it. Probably like where I want to kind of like slow this down and kind of bring it in for a landing is
Yeah.
so where are you at right now? Like, what is going on with Haas Fabrication,
Yeah.
with you? Like, where are you now, and where are you trying to go? Like, those are the two things we want to finish up with.
So last year I had set a goal for the amount of money that I want to bring in,
Mhm.
and I broke it.
Nice.
This year I had set it a little bit higher, and I broke it last month.
Nice.
So I think every year I'm going to set a goal for myself for as far as total income,
Mhm.
and try to break that. Where I'm at right now is busy, man. Busy.
Mhm.
It's slow. It slowed down a little bit last month, and that was mainly because waiting on deposits or in between jobs.
Mhm.
Um, I have stayed pretty busy. Yeah, pretty probably can work 6 days a week easily, um, since like January of 23.
Okay.
So, and
And
I'm
what
very,
kind of
very
work are you busy with? Like, what's the if you have a bulk of it, like a majority of it?
yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, I'm sure you've seen. I do a crap load of those Peterbilt skids.
Hmm.
Oh, hold on, something just came up. Oh, there. Never mind.
Yeah.
It just threw up an alarm of something.
It says
Um,
this has been open too long.
yeah. Um, I do a crap load of those Peterbilt skids. I
Mhm.
do. I think I've done 30 of them.
That's awesome, man.
That's another thing of not burning bridges and stuff like that. I get a lot of work from Peterbilt. Um, I build all their service trucks or kit out all their service trucks throughout the U.S.
Mm.
Um,
Really?
I do. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So I've
I
done.
thought
I've
you were.
done.
I thought it was in the Georgia, local
No.
area.
No. I've done as south as Miami, as far west as I think Tennessee,
Mhm.
and as far north as Massachusetts, I
There
believe.
you go.
So
Nice.
yeah. I've done about 30 units so far.
Mhm.
Um, They they are constantly feeding me. They usually do groups of three, and I do a lot of everything, man. I very much enjoy repair work, whether it be in the shop or in the field. A lot of like concrete truck and dump truck repair,
Nice.
uh, dump truck floor reskins.
In the rain.
Hand, yeah, in the rain, yeah, baby.
Loserville
Um,
represent.
there you go. Um, I do a little bit of everything. A lot of aluminum fabrication. My another previous employer, Firematic, they sent outsource a lot of their aluminum fabrication to me.
Nice.
Um, they started developing not while I was there, while I was employed there, but somewhere between then and now. They make and sell fire apparatus like bracketry and holders, fire extinguisher holders, circular saw blades, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they
For the
outsource it all.
for like utility fire trucks, like
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
they
yeah.
gotta
So,
carry all kinds of junk, like not junk, sorry, but
yeah,
like they got to carry jaws of life and demo
yeah,
saws and
correct.
all kinds of
Yep.
crazy
Yeah, like the
dual.
Halligan axes,
Yeah.
circular saws. So
Yeah.
all of that's chainsaws, chop saws, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so
That's awesome.
any fire department can go on their website and order those brackets. They don't have to like purchase it with a truck or anything like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
so
cool.
they have online sales through that, and I build all of their all that for them. So that's been fairly consistent, and that's
That's something that you could. I don't want to say farm out, but that's something that would be a good fit for an employee, so you could buy back some time for yourself.
it is.
Some
Yeah, I've thought about that. I've thought about that. The big thing is being in the fire and police industry. The welds have to look beautiful.
Yep.
So as long as I can get an employee like that
Mhm.
to who can actually put out the quality that I already outsource all the cutting and bending
Right.
to a laser shop,
Mhm.
and they kill it. They do a
Yep.
great job,
Great job, right?
and it all gets shipped to me. It shows up in was it the Gaylord
Yep.
boxes?
Yep. Four by four by
Shows up in a
four or whatever.
yep, shows up in one of those. I put it all together like a puzzle piece. I spend a couple days welding it all out, and I ship it all back up to New York.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's so
So
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's
do a
just
lot of
good.
like random stuff. A
Yeah.
lot of random stuff. I love that. I love not doing one specific thing because
Hmm.
I can't do one specific thing.
Right.
I do
Otherwise, you'll be working at a boat factory. You know.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah.
really.
Yep.
Like, yeah,
Literally, yeah. Yeah.
your
I can't
inability
do
to be like, this is all I'm gonna do. That
yep.
curiosity again, like it
Yep.
doesn't kill the cat. It really
No.
doesn't. It allows you to
Um
just enjoy what you do on the regular basis.
yeah.
So
I
even
do a
though it's
lot of
hard.
yeah, exactly. I do a lot of facility like maintenance type
Okay.
fabrication, like safety handrail, safety
Oh yeah.
platforms
Is that
for a
on
couple.
site stuff, like for local
Um,
places, or are you like
it's
shipping that?
No, it's all local facilities. One of them being Mitsubishi,
Oh,
where
sweet.
they we have a pretty large plant here. They build power generation turbines.
Oh,
So like
right. Huge.
huge power generation turbines for like dams and steam power turbines. They build all those. So I do all their facility welding for them
Sweet.
as far as safety and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
any improvements that I build work platforms for all because they have huge, massive machining equipment. So
Mm.
sometimes they need work platforms built for them and stuff like that to
Do you do like
facilitate a
repair
job.
work for them, like loading dock door or whatever? Like, so they break something with the forklift, like you're
Yeah,
repairing
yeah,
facility work, like that kind of stuff too.
yeah, that too. Yeah, pretty
Cool.
much anything outside of like their production or maintenance welding, like because they do repair on their own like turbine
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah,
But
that would
yeah,
probably have to be in house, like
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
done
So
by
I do
them.
a lot of that stuff for them. But yeah, do a
Where
little
you're
bit of
at.
everything, and I love it.
Yeah, cool. Do you have any like I know you set your financial goal. I like that because if you don't have a goal and you're not working, what are you working towards? It's
Right,
hard to hit it. And you lose track of
right.
what you're actually doing. you might not know that you're doing better. It might feel like you're doing worse if you're not
Right.
keeping track of where you're headed. But do you have any like future the next year or two, like short term, midterm, like I'm going to refine or I'm going to focus on this or I'm going to try to get customer over here, or like do you have a anything going on that way, or you just kind of
Um,
open booking?
yeah, I'm kind of open booking. I'm kind of to the point where we discussed it earlier, where getting busy to the point where you either raise your rates or hire an employee. And I don't really want to do either. Raising rates is not like we
Yeah,
discussed with
it's
it's really
the
not
way
too big
you
of a deal
do
for
it.
me.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. The way my business is structured, it's not too big of a deal to add add a little
Yeah.
bit more on
Here
top.
or there. Yep. Yep.
Um, but I definitely would prefer to continue to try to cherry pick jobs that I want,
Mhm.
and then just manage my workload based off that.
Yeah.
If I get a customer, if it's a good customer who needs something done that I don't really want to do the job, it's not a big deal. But if it's a new customer, I'll probably either try to push it off to someone else or kind of go from there. Be able to cherry pick jobs that I want to do. That's kind of where I want to be at. I never want to get to the point where I have a bunch of employees and I'm completely hands off.
Right.
I'm just, I saw that in my dad's business. My dad ran a pest control business
Hmm.
for, I think it was about 20 years. Um, I mean, it was him and my mom, and it was a $500,000 a year business consistently, and just him and my mom. And
Yep.
that's kind of where I want to be. I don't want to
That's
make it.
a good
I don't.
place.
Yeah, I don't want to make millions of dollars a year. I want to stay small. I want to. Quality control is huge to me.
Mm.
I don't want to outsource anything, even
Mm.
like painting, any of that concrete
Really?
work. Yeah, I hate because it's like it's a different world down here.
Okay.
It the people are incredibly unreliable here, like
Interesting.
incredible, which is why I stay as busy as I am because I am reliable.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where like returning phone calls is huge to people down here. For a long time, it used to be the good old boy system down here,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like it is what it is, and this guy takes forever, but this is the only guy in town, and we got to do it. But
Yeah.
Savannah as a whole is blowing up.
Mm.
Like it's growing like wildfire. Um, so a lot of these big companies that are coming in are realizing that's not how this is going to work. You either need to be able to do the job and accomplish it and do it, or we're not going to hire you. So a lot of these older guys and these older shops, they're all shutting down around here because they're worthless. They've been worthless shops, and they've been absolutely worthless and horrible companies and shops for years, and everybody's just dealt with it.
Right.
But now all this new blood is coming into the area, so all these people are like, we're not tolerating this.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
mean,
that's
it's the
actually
same.
awesome in a
It's
way.
great.
Like it's
It's
great.
great. Yeah, because and it's not just in welding.
Yeah.
It's concrete guys. I mean,
Painters,
concrete.
whatever.
Yeah, anybody, literally any trade here. There's probably 1 out of 5 companies are actually worth a shit.
Yeah. Mm.
They're so bad. I mean, my parents had a house built down here, and it took 18 months for a home to be built.
Right.
And
Yeah. If you were
who
in the
what?
New York metro area, that'd be like six
Right,
months. You know.
right, exactly. Yeah, I mean they would
No
crush it. Yeah,
excuses. You know.
right, exactly. Yeah, and that's what it is. People down here are so used to excuses. And
Hmm.
I mean, I see it even like I'll have a couple guys come by the shop just to kind of talk and like and try to network with me. And then I talk to them, and you just hear them make excuses, and you're just
After.
like, okay, cool. I will after what you just said, I will never feed you work ever, never
Ever.
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 You made an excuse. Don't
Yep.
make excuses.
Yeah. No, that's huge, and I like the direction you're going. I think it's important to know who you are, like
Right.
what you value. I think it's important to know what you value, and then allow that to be reflected in your business, because big doesn't mean good.
No.
Bigger doesn't mean better. Um,
No.
for some, like I know for me, having employees is hard. Why?
Yeah.
Because I care very deeply about your success. I actually care more about your growth than you do.
Right.
And I've had employees that like I'm trying to get them to move forward and in small ways of like, I want you to think through this job with me. Like, what do you think the next step is? What do you think we ought to do around here? They told us to go here and do this, like put this bracket up or this assembly up. What do you think about that? And they're just like, oh gosh, I hate working
Yeah.
with this guy.
Yeah.
I care so much about how you're doing. Not, I don't care about your feelings. I want
Right.
you to grow. Like, I want you to love this as much as I do.